And now on Who's Views, it's time for the latest headlines with JT and the Whotastic panel.
Ooh, Cyber Talk, all coming to you on this very channel in February. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Who's Views. It's your Sunday big show. It is indeed Sunday, the 26th of January, 2025. It is wonderful to see you. How are you? I hope you've had a great week. A lot of people haven't, though, because have you heard? Yes, your big show today is going to be dealing with all of this. RTD isn't happy. When does he have it? John Barrowman isn't happy. No, the BBC isn't happy. Doctor Who fans aren't happy. Doctor Who DEI Season 2 is on the way. Doesn't look as if that's going to be happy at all. We've got more details on that spin-off thing that's coming. Oh, it's all here in the big show for you this evening. We have a lot to talk about. So thank you for joining us. Without further ado, let's bring on the terrible twosome, shall we? We've got Paul and we've got Third Doctor Ian. Hello to you two.
Hello there. Hello there.
Hello.
I want to say excellent after that cyber intro there, but I have to say that, yeah.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Oh, if you weren't around in the 80s, you missed a treat there, as I can tell you. Listen, as usual, I'd like to say a huge thank you to everybody that's been getting in touch this week with all your emails and with your comments on our various shows this week. We've had several out for you. Nice to hear from you. If you want to get in touch with us, then you can, of course. It's there, whosviews1@gmail.com. The usual email address now, whosviews1@gmail.com. So please do get in touch. As ever, it takes me a little bit of time to get back in touch with you, but I will. And I'd like to say a huge thank you to the Darren Zone, to Golden Age Geek, to Crimpeline Doubloon, to Andy Gledhill, Stephen Braddock, to Graham Buxton, to Daniel Thomas, to Lex Kane, to Simon Leavesley, to Mark Milford, Paul Stenterford, to Mike Disney, still fingers crossed on your audition there, Mike. He had his audition last week, remember? He's well waiting to hear.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we had his audition for a band, everybody. He got in touch with me to say it was a band. So still fingers crossed there, Mike. Thank you to Problem Being, to Sean Cryer, to Master X Miles, to R. John 4143, to Gilliam, to Julianne Goodwin, to Thomas McCarthy, to Dubstep's Eye, and to Silurian Skies. Thank you so much for getting in touch. And also, I just want to say thank you as well to Rick Storm for the quote of the week for us, guys, which was Trump withdraws from who? Let's hope Disney does as well. I thought that was brilliant. So well done to Rick, and thank you very much, everybody, for getting in touch. Big show for you all tonight. It's nice to see you. If you're out there in the chat, please come into the chat. Give us a like and subscribe to the channel. Why don't you? Because we've got some big topics for you. We're actually going to start off with some sad news, aren't we, guys, this evening? Because we've had the news over the last couple of days that we've lost another one of our Doctor Who actors, one of our guest stars as well. And this, of course, is Donald Pelmier, who had just actually celebrated his 101st birthday, everybody. Wow. Oh, bless him, on the 11th of January. But he's passed away. Now, you will know him, if you don't know the name, of course, as the one and the only Professor Rubish from the Time Warrior. That was a wonderful story, the Time Warrior. But, you know, oh, bless him. He was well known. He'd done an awful lot of television. He'd done an awful lot of theatre. Oh, and, yeah. Another one passed on, guys. Sad, isn't it? Because this was a great character, wasn't it, in the Time Warrior?
It's a lovely, eccentric character, isn't it? Beautifully played by Donald. God bless him.
Yeah, I loved Professor Rubish. I remember watching. There's a scene where I think Lynx is torturing the Doctor or something, and Rubish is coming up behind him, but because he hadn't got his glasses, he's like with his self-made thing, and you're just there. Go on, and wonderful character. Yeah, wonderful character. Yeah, dotty, completely dotty.
Yeah. I love when he's reminiscing about getting back to the 20th century and he talk about truffles and steak and everything. It's lovely. Yeah.
It's just an amazing story and an amazing characterization in that as well. It just makes it for me as well. I mean, it's just so much go in that story, hasn't it? It really does. It's just amazing. But listen, we've got a hell of a lot of you in the chat saying RIP here. Matt the Silent Way Music King saying he's 101. Yes, he was 101. Wow. Absolutely outstanding innings, says Garbage. And Bill Lowry's giving us a little sad smiley thing there. Oh, of course, said Robert Payne. R.I.P. Professor Rubish. Yeah, lots of you here with that. Michael is with us as well to say, look, Professor Rubish and the wheat tires there. That's an impressive age. It certainly is, isn't it, Talons of Wayne Chang? It really, really is. And Stephen Brazek saying, oh, no, not Professor Rubish. Oh, I'm going to have to go and rewatch The Time Warrior now. Yep, absolutely. Why not? Not right now. Stay with us.
Like you need an excuse, Stevie. You can watch it many, many times. Great story. Yeah.
Jane is saying 101, a good innings. Absolutely. St. Rosie Mead saying the same thing. What else we got? Oh, there's loads of you in the chat. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us this evening. It's great to see you all. Derek Hart is saying RIP. So is Paul Stenterford. We've got prayers here from Marjorie. Thank you for that, Marjorie. Yeah. Wow. Lots of you in the chat saying that. So this is brilliant. Time Lord Victorious. But what a character, everybody. And it's difficult for us, isn't it? Because as we said just last week, we are losing an awful lot of our Doctor Who stars now, our Doctor Who guest actors, all that. I mean, but at least they're there. At least they are there, you know, for us to enjoy with our physical media anytime we like. 101, wow, says Legion of James. And Golden Age Geek is with us. It's very sad he is no longer with us, but he lived a very long life. So we should treat this moment of remembrance as a celebration of his life.
Indeed.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're going to do, and remember him, because, yeah, as usual, here on Who's Views, we'd like to send all our thoughts and our prayers to Donald Pelmier's family and friends at this sad time for them.
Yeah.
Professor Rubish will live on with all of us. That's all there is to it. You're watching Who's Views. This is Headlines. It's your Sunday Big Show. Wow, let's get into what we've got to talking to you, because we have an awful lot to talk about this evening. And did you know, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the BBC seem to be in a state of shock at the moment.
Aren't they always? Allegedly.
What a shame.
Do you know, there's an awful lot going wrong with the BBC, as we highlight on a weekly basis here on Headlines. This week has been a terrible week in Britain, and the BBC hasn't really helped itself at all in that one, but we're not going to go into all of that one. What we are going to look at is this headline that came out just a couple of days ago from the radiotimes.com. Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, overtakes Gavin and Stacey finale with smash ratings. Christmas Day viewing totals like these haven't been seen in 20 years, was the headline on a very breezy Friday here in the UK. Have you seen this, guys? Let's get into it.
That's great news. If they've beaten them, that's superb. Yeah.
It actually says here, they're the two new releases that were arguably the most anticipated of the year, and it looks as though both Gavin and Stacey, the finale, and Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, have reached quite the major milestone. After 28 days, the final episode of Gavin and Stacey reached 20.9 million viewers. But beating the comedy by some margin was the anticipated Wallace and Gromit film, which has reached 21.6 million already. According to the BBC, these Christmas Day figures haven't been seen in 20 years, I wonder why, and make them the UK's biggest scripted and animated shows since modern records began in 2002. On the announcement of the figures, Charlotte Moore, the BBC's chief content officer, said, "These figures exceed all expectations. To reach over 20 million is an astonishing milestone in 2025. These two quintessentially British shows couldn't be more different, but what unites them is their undeniable quality and the fact they are best in class. I am in awe of the creative genius that is Aardman, Nick Park, Merlin Crossingham, Ruth Jones, and James Corden, and I'm very proud of the long-standing relationship we have with them. It's been a privilege to support their exceptional creative talents over decades."
It's interesting they've got 15 million more than Doctor Who got, which is interesting.
What have I always said? What have I always said, Paul? I've always said, if you produce something that the great British public wants to watch, they will come and watch it. And we've got Doctor Who languishing way down there in the buckets. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's nowhere to be seen, is it? It's absolutely ridiculous. We've also got this, by the way, which came out just a couple of days ago from the Ratings UK. They reported the latest BARB official top 15 broadcasts of 2024. So this, again, is bad news for Doctor Who. As you can see, Gavin and Stacey, the finale from Christmas Day, is there at number 1, with Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul from Christmas Day at number 2. You've got the Euros 2024, which apparently is some sort of footy ball thing, which goes at 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. Then you've got the New Year's Eve fireworks, 8th. Goodness me, were things that desperate, British public? Come on. Then, number 9, Mr. Bates versus the Post Office from the 6th of January, all that long ago. I'm a Celebrity, Get Him Out of Me. Get Me Out of Here was the 10th. You've got another episode of Mr. Bates versus the Post Office, 11th. Strictly Come Dancing, 12th. The Euros 2024 again at 13. I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here again at 14. And another episode of Mr. Bates versus the Post Office at 15. Look at this. Look at this.
And these are all overnight ratings, aren't they? So
these are the official finalized audience. So it says the chart simply lists the top 15 programs of 2024 according to the official 7-day data from the BARB. Now, once upon a time,
not even in the top 100, I'd imagine. So
that's what I was going to say. Once upon a time, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Doctor Who would be in there.
Yeah.
Can you remember End of Time? I think it was part 2 was virtually at the top, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sad, really. You know, but
it's very sad.
It's no surprise, is it? And the thing for the BBC is it's all very well the BBC getting themselves off on that, and you know, and very excitable that they'll be, but you know, Gavin and Stacey. The clue is in the name. The finale. There won't be any more of that. And Wallace and Gromit.
They keep saying that, don't they? They're always saying this will be the last one. Yeah. So yeah.
I think they'd be flogging a dead horse if they tried to take it beyond that. And
well, they did it with Owen Fields and Horses, Ian, didn't they? It was such a shame when they did that, you know. But
it tends to spoil the memory a bit, doesn't it? When they push it beyond its natural end time.
It does really. I think they did it with AbFab as well. I was a huge AbFab fan, but they drew it out because they thought they were going to get ratings. And no disrespect to Miss Saunders, it wasn't as good. I think the first 3 was enough where she wanted to get rid of it, to be quite honest. You know, we've got a lot of you in the chat joining us. Thank you. Dalek Eye saying an eccentric inventor and his psychic companion against an evil villain gets millions of views. Oh, it's not Doctor Who. It's very true, that one. What else have we got here from you all? If Doctor Who, says Paul Richards, can't pick up more than 4 million on the overnights on Christmas Day, then it's not looking good. Absolutely. Stephen Braddock saying to us, well done, Wallace and Gromit, well deserved. It was fantastic and is an instant classic for the ages, isn't it? Just isn't it? I mean, it just worked for them, didn't it? It really did. Raymond Williams with us saying Doctor Who was once quintessentially a British show. Now it's just another generic fantasy show. Do you know, Raymond, I was saying something similar to a friend of mine just the other day about that. Who had watched some of the Gatwa one, got bored and gave it up and said, well, to be honest, just it's lost its Britishness. I didn't recognise it. Yeah, and it's true, really, when you look at it, isn't it?
It's just not engaging as well. That's the thing. It's not got any rewatchability. It's not engaging people. That's the problem, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's showing that Davis, for all his alleged history with the show and growing up being a fan, alleged again, doesn't really get what makes good Doctor Who. He draws off other people's, as we've touched on before. You know, we're talking about that Spearhead on Wednesday. He draws on what's gone before that's been written by other people. But when it comes to writing himself, he doesn't really do a very good job. And I think it shows a fundamental lack of understanding about what makes Doctor Who work. He's just, I think, a total fraud. But,
and he's even started to rip off himself, isn't he, with this current season, what's coming next? So he's repeating himself, you know.
That reminds me, actually, if you haven't seen this little snippet, because not many of us watch these making of shows, but if you haven't seen this little snippet of what they broadcast from the first episode of the next series, you can go and look at it on our Who's Views Facebook page, because I found it earlier because I haven't seen it either. And it looks like Smith and Jones all over again, quite frankly. Boring, been there. Time Lord Victorious, hello to you. Doctor Who has been and is completely out of the public consciousness, and to be honest, it deserves to be in its current form. Absolutely. It's embarrassing, isn't it? Prince Valium and the Restless Nights with us. Eating Animal Ghoulies is a bigger rating smash than Doctor Who. That says it all.
Always has been.
Shocking states of affairs. And Bill Larry, with the rubbish we're being offered, it won't surprise anyone. It won't surprise those of us that are realistic. I'm sure there will be a lot of people denying all this, to be quite honest. You know, well, not a lot, because not many people are engaged with the show, but the people that follow the social media, that lot who I'm always arguing with. Once upon a time, Doctor Who was a ratings winner for the BBC. It seems sadly those days are long gone, says Paul Schlefter. I'm not
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And our very own ratings analysis expert, Bedouin, is with us saying, proves that live sport is the only guarantee of viewers. And people are asking why Netflix are now looking at trying to broadcast live sport and getting involved with that. It's a guaranteed audience from them. You know, television's changing again, and it looks like these people that say they know everything about it haven't a clue what they're doing. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I'm coming to that conclusion.
I think they think what they like is what everybody wants, but they're completely wide of the mark. They need to do a complete 180-degree change to get anywhere close to what people want, because they're just consistently wrong all
They
the
have
time.
to stop telling people it's good. Let us make our own decision on that.
Yeah.
Sell it to us in a different way. Don't say this is really good, you'll love it. You have to find a different way of selling it, because you're trying to brainwash us into believing it's good and it's not.
And yet it seems to have worked for several people. The small minority of people, they say, oh, it's the best thing ever, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's the best. Oh, this is the bestest Doctor ever. It's just complete denial, isn't it?
But that's Davis's full line, though, isn't it? How many times does that buffoon come out with, it's fantastic, it's brilliant, it's amazing? Every damn sentence he comes out with, it includes those words when he's talking about what mainly.
If he said it's a load of old crap, we might like it. You never know. So.
Well, we've still got to wait and see what they've got ready for us in Disney Rtd.
Allegedly.
Yeah, let's see what they've got there. Woodhouse122 is saying the AI ratings for Joy to the World were too good either. Yeah, in case you haven't seen that, the AI ratings for Joy to the World was 76. 76. So the overnight was 4.11 million. The +7, which was TV only, was 5.70, and the +7, which was TV plus the 4 screens, desperate, was 5.91. So still, even then, any which way they could, it wasn't increasing that much. They stretched it as much as they could, and it was still rubbish. And
there's a captive audience on Christmas Day, so there's no excuse, you know.
And then the AI still came in at 76, which isn't brilliant actually for Doctor Who. Lee Smith wants to know, so what will the BBC have lined up for next Christmas Day? Will it be Mrs. Brown's Boys, Strictly Come Dancing, The Traitors, Celebrity, what's it called, Gladiators?
Call the Midwife.
Call the Midwife, some sort of kids thing there. But as of yet, no Doctor Who. There you go. Paul Richards is saying to us here, the writing is terrible. A doctor hitting on a contract killer and saying that's a cool profession is dreadful. Okay, yeah. Marjorie is also saying to us here, RCD, I believe, was never a Doctor Who fan, and this current series proves it. Again, I'm not going to argue with that. Paul Thomas Ashworth, thank you so much for your super chat here. No more pantheons of gods, please. We just want monster of the week, providing they don't fart, no scribble monster, and no Absorbaloff. Well, Paul, something tells me you're not going to get your wish there in the next 8 episodes of this.
No. As they said, this is the second half of Series 1, Series 2, isn't it? Let's be honest.
You're right, Paul. You're right. That's what we should call it, actually, isn't it, really? Thanks, Paul Thomas Ashworth. PTA, nice to see you. And Stephen saying to us, Stephen Bradley, I asked my friend at work, do you watch it? What, that thing about a gay doctor chasing a bloody suitcase? No, I'm out. Thank you very much, everybody. Has RTD been kicking off this week then, says Prince Valium and the Restless Knights? We're coming to that very, very shortly. But I thought that would be another bit for you. Hello to Terrified Monk as well. Terrified Monk saying hello, everybody.
Hello.
Tell everyone it's crap, says Rick Storm, and they'll watch just to see.
Yes, exactly. Reverse psychology always works. That's it.
And once again, this proves that the BBC are completely out of touch with their audience. Is it any surprise that so many refuse to pay their TV license, says Paul Stenford? Well, no, it's not really, is it? Really, really isn't, because they're totally out of touch. Did you hear? But I don't want to get too much into the subject, but the BBC and ITN were hounded out of Liverpool earlier this week. Yeah. No surprise there. But hashtag I stand with Liverpool. So yes, that's another story for another time, I think. But you never know. And knowing Doctor Who, it might come up at some point. Goodness me.
I was going to say about advertising the series. I don't know if you feel this. When someone hypes something up to me, I'm already hyped and don't think I would like it because people have said it's really, really good. If someone recommends a movie or a TV show, sometimes and never lives up to expectations, and that's part of the problem, I think.
Yeah, we've got entertainment creators saying can't wait for Doctor Who season 2. Well, good for you. At least there's a few of you. Well done. Well done.
I hope it's everything you want it to be.
Don't forget, if you are going to watch it, join us for our reviews as we go through this painful nonsense.
Do you remember like the classic, the classic proper Doctor Who series? Before each series started, you'd occasionally be lucky and get a couple of repeats from the season before. But you had that preview, didn't you, before the Key to Time, where the Doctor comes out of the TARDIS, is snoring, and he gets woken up. And no, it's before Destiny of the Dark,
17, yeah.
And that's all you needed. You didn't need, it's going to be a fantastic series. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. And you just get the standard BBC, this is coming up. And that was that. Yeah. And you could not wait. That Saturday could not come round quick enough.
That and character with Tom Baker's absolute genius, isn't it? Super.
Isn't it just? Absolutely. Yeah. And if you haven't seen it, look it up on YouTube. But it's just, now you just have this fat Welsh idiot saying it's going to be fantastic, and it's universally crap all the time, and it's not
resonating with the majority of the huge majority of Doctor Who fans who have now left the show, and of course the British public who don't care for it at all. Hello to the Zero Room. It is good to see you. We'll know after Series 2 has aired. Apparently, Disney didn't need to wait that long to decide. A lot of speculation about that, and I'm sure we're going to be coming to that very soon as well. Entertainment creators saying to us, RTD was a fan. I guess Series 1 to 4 never existed. Yeah, but the question I would ask you, entertainment creator, and anybody else that keeps throwing that back at me, is what happened? What happened? Why did he have to absolutely come back to this show? And he had one job, as I've said before. All he had to do was write Doctor Who. No. What he did is he started all this TQ cult nonsense, and he started to write absolute ridiculous storylines going around those agendas of his own and pushing all this pronoun nonsense and all this sort of stuff. I mean, why? That's nothing to do with Doctor Who. Why didn't he just bring something that would all come together as Doctor Who stories should do and give us a good sci-fi drama that it was accessible to everybody instead of alienating a majority and writing for a teensy-weensy minority? That's what I would ask you. What happened?
I think the clue there was a fan. I remember an interview with him where he was saying about how he used to collect all the Doctor Who magazines and things like that and drifted away from it for a while and then came back to it. But, Series 1 to 4, I enjoyed those 4 series probably more than the rest of it, to be quite honest. Yeah. But at the same time, I will maintain that the best stories in that were stories that were written by Gareth Roberts, Rob Shearman, and I forget who wrote The Impossible Planet, Bad on Me. Yeah, they weren't written by Russell T Davies. The best stories, they just weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's very true. I mean, that was pointed out on our show last week as well from TV Zone, who also said that the ones that they are recognizing as the best ones in both of his eras were not his. So I mean, it says it all, really, doesn't it? Yeah. Hello to
Rogue
Joss.
being the remarkable exception to that rule, I have to say that.
Well, he did have a hand in that as well, though, didn't he?
He
really?
did, true.
That was one of the worst ones. Hello to Josh H. They filmed the second series before the first series were broadcast, so they've doubled down on what they did in the first series. It's not a great sign. We're sort of resigned to that, but if we are wrong, we will review it and we will say so. Simon Ellsworth, as hi Simon, hi JT and family. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? Fighting to keep my eyes open, but it's all worth it to listen to the awesome Sunday show. Well, thank you very much, and thanks for joining us. But yeah, we're not going to let you sleep on this particular edition. And Mike is saying to us, I can't wait for you guys to watch Series 2. Cheers, mate.
Yeah. We'll never get that thing back again, you realise, don't you? Yeah. We will know as well. I'll see you again. Yeah.
We will
8 hours, sorry, yeah.
Also, we've got Smashed here. They use their metal knives. Even if they recast the Doctor, it won't matter. I don't know why. I did that this week actually in a restaurant. Don't ask me why. Even if they recast the Doctor, it won't matter who it is. They need to replace the entire ideology behind the show. Get back to good stories and characters again. Smashed. That's why we're saying it has to have a good few years off now, so that the world can find the common sense again, and show business certainly can get all this nonsense out of their system. And come back to reality, because they're way out there in fantasy Gaga Lulu land, aren't they?
I would love to think it could come back, but I think the damage is done. That it's really basically soiled itself. It's not very nice at all,
True, and the problem is there's nobody ready to welcome it back. Sorry, and there's no one to. As I said before, the fans won't. Well, we will be very skeptical. A lot of the original fans as well are not going to be watching it. So it would depend on the lead actor. It would depend on a production crew, but they'd have to do a lot of work because the British public don't care. It's dead in the water as far as I'm concerned. Sorry, Ian.
That's all right. I was just going to say to Smashed, they may be aware, but if they go to the Media Museum in Bradford, they can see some of their kinsmen. I believe the original Smashed aliens are in a case, and I think opposite them is a replica Genesis Dalek.
Ooh.
And they're effectively cousins, aren't they? Robotically speaking.
Yeah, I love the Smashed aliens. They were fantastic. Adverts.
There you go. So if you're anywhere near there, that's where you head to.
Can I ask you, did you have to explain the reference when you did it at your work? Did you?
Unfortunately, I did. I had to say to one of the kids, "Get your phone out and get onto YouTube." And then he thought it was hilarious when he watched the advert.
Yeah. I'm always doing that. Yeah.
The product is still around, isn't it? Smash is still around. Yeah. We've got Clarky IRC70. Nice to see you. For the first time ever, I've not seen the Christmas episode. Should I leave it? B, and not bother? Yes. Don't bother. It's rubbish. It's absolute rubbish. Don't go near it. You go and watch Wallace and Gromit. Or Gavin and Stacey, far better things to watch over.
Go and watch Spearhead from Space. That's a good story.
Spearhead from Space, yes.
You watch the Christmas episode, you'll have your head back in that bucket before you know it.
And Atherstone55 is saying, "Hello, my favourites on YouTube." Well, nice to see you, Atherstone. Lovely to see you. So that's where we're up to with all that sort of stuff. You're all in the chat busy. And Neville's with us, and Rose Kirby is with us as well. Nice to see you all. Lots of you here. You're all talking. You love this subject. Who's this? Hello to humans. Call me Steve. I get much more pleasure from hearing people slag off modern Doctor Who than I do from actually watching it.
Well, it's therapeutic for us as well, obviously.
Yeah.
It makes me feel slightly bad, to be honest. But hello, humans. Call me Steve. Steve, it's nice to see you. Welcome to Who's Views. Not seen you on the channel before. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do. But it's lovely to see you. Hopefully, we've seen a lot more of you with your opinion and your views on everything we talk about on the shows. And Paul Shawnee's with us saying, Stephen Brown, hello, you're not the only one giving it a miss. I can't take it anymore. There's a lot of fans with you in that one, Paul. And it's no surprise, really, is it? Because it bloody is awful.
It really is.
Really, it's terrible. We've got a lot of you in the chat, as I say tonight. It's great to see you all. Thank you. But that was it. I thought that would be very interesting for you because that ties up really what we were looking at with Bedwyer's ratings analysis over the last few weeks. There's the final word really now from radiotimes.com. Wallace and Gromit and Gavin and Stacey, the big standout. 20 million plus viewers on the BBC Christmas 2024, not been seen in years. Shame. It's a shame, isn't it? But will the industry learn from that? Are they actually sitting down right now and saying, oh, we need to make things that the public like and will watch? Of course they're not, because they know better than the rest of us. They're too busy wondering what each other's personal pronouns are to get any work done. But anyway, that's my opinion. The other thing that's coming up right now, everybody, I don't know if you've heard, but there's more news coming out about this. This apparently is now the official logo for the war between the land and the sea, which is the alleged spin-off from Doctor Who. But can you see anything at the moment tying it to Doctor Who there? Do you remember when they did Sarah Jane and Torchwood? It had from the makers of Doctor Who.
Yeah. Because
it was popular.
Yes.
They could put from that old crap called Doctor Who at the top and then have that underneath, couldn't they? Yeah.
But that's what this. I'll show you again. What gets me here. There's no reference to Doctor Who at all because I think they suddenly realised, well, if we say it's something from Doctor Who, it might put people off.
Yeah.
It's not. It's just a theory. Just a theory.
It's not, I have to say, it's not very kind of. The advertising doesn't grab you, does it? It doesn't make you think, I must watch that.
Well, this isn't the advertising for it now. This came through from a publicity thing from Disney to say these are the shows we've got lined up for 2025.
Right.
Right. Now, if they're saying that this thing is going to be on in 2025, and yet RTD and his friends at BBC Studios and Bad Wolf are saying maybe not.
Yeah.
I'm more inclined to believe Disney to say, no, this thing is going to be on by the end of 2025. And then I'm also inclined to say, and then that's it.
Yeah.
If they're stepping away,
it'll be December 2025, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but if they're stepping away after their 2 years, they're not going to want that to drag on into another year, because it'll give a false impression that they're still associated with it.
Yeah. Sheila B in the devotion is saying, good grief, someone got paid for designing that. Yes, they did.
Yeah.
And absolutely nothing about that logo, says Graham. Program title or premise makes me want to watch this. Lee Smith is saying to us, the S looks like a snake. Don't read too much into it, Lee. Honestly.
They've not even got like a shot of the marker, like like the scarab popping up the bottom like that. That'd be great.
Yeah, you're too intelligently for them. Don't, because you're burnt out. And Golden Age Geek saying to us, linking the spin-off to the current nonsense would only damage its reputation before it even starts. That's what I'm saying, Golden Age Geek, and I reckon as well that unfortunately, when the public realise that this is coming on, I just don't think they're gonna even want to know, to be honest. We've got this from Digby. Thank you so much, Digby, for your super chat here. Digby, for those of you who can't see us, who are listening to us, war between the land and the sea looks like a floating, and then he's put T asterisk.
I wouldn't joke. There's maybe something about English water and sewerage or something in the episode. An episode about that, about
exactly
bad water. Yeah,
exactly. We've also got here from Bedweir. Thank you for that, Digby. What a dreadful logo, says Bedweir. War and sea in big capitals, every other word the same size. Philip Roy's joining us. Hello, Philip. Hi, everyone. I've been here from the start, but just got around to saying hello now. Nice to see you.
Hello.
Nearing the end of the production of his own Doctor Who amateur film this year. Looking forward to seeing that. And the Zero Room saying, don't watch, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. I nearly broke into song then, but you're not allowed.
There's not even a shot coming up at the bottom either.
Marjorie is saying to us, this doesn't spark any interest, so I'll pass. And could it be, says Lee, a spin-off straight to DVD release? I've heard, Lee, it's already scheduled for early 2026.
That'd be really embarrassing, wouldn't it?
Yeah. The poster looks like it was done on canvas, says Paul Thomas Ashworth. I could do better in 5 minutes. I bet you could, actually. I bet you actually could. But that logo and this whole thing here, oh, look at that, leads me to this story here from bleedingcool.com. Doctor Who Land Sea spin-off going for indie gritty vibes, says Tovey. The war between the land and the sea star Russell Tovey has some interesting insights to share about the Doctor Who spin-off series. So this comes from Saturday, 25th of January. Are these interesting? Let me know. Stand by your bed, because here we go with the story. When we last checked in on how things were looking with showrunner RTD, upcoming Russell Tovey and Gugu Mbatha Raw, starring Doctor Who spin-off BBC and Disney branded television's The War Between the Land and the Sea, RTD was giving us a better sense of what we can expect, we can expect it to hit our screens. Now, thanks to an interview with Variety magazine that hit earlier today, yesterday, Tovey is offering some insights into how the production went, what his responsibilities on the set are as the lead, what Doctor Who fans should know heading into it, and how the spin-off is looking to give off an indie vibe. Oh, I'm bored already. In the war between the land and the sea, a fearsome and ancient species emerges from the ocean, dramatically revealing themselves to humanity. With an international crisis triggered and the entire population at risk, UNIT steps into action as the land and sea wage war. It has been one of the most joyful jobs I've ever done, says Toby. Every day was just brilliant. I love the character I play. I love the cast and crew. I think I think that we have a responsibility as actors. Yes to the role, yes to the script, yes to that. But we have a responsibility when we get to walk on set to be kind and to be honest and to be vulnerable. And I think as I get older and every single project I do, I make sure that when I walk onto set, I am kind, and that's all I can do. Toby shared, I was number one on this show, and from day one, I was like, it's not a struggle for me to be kind. I know the ripples that can come from being a really good number one and being a really good team player and being kind on set. We've all worked with people who aren't as generous with their kindness on their good energy, and it makes for a really uncomfortable, unsatisfying, and sometimes upsetting experience. It makes it harder for you to be vulnerable because it makes you anxious. Before we continue, why can't they just get on with their jobs? Exactly. Anyway, before we continue,
wet bollocks, isn't it?
Oh, it's show business wetness, isn't it? Just get on set, do your job, and then stop trying to be all this. Oh, I'm the best. I'm the best. Oh, anyway,
I'm so fluffy and vulnerable. It's pathetic. It really is pathetic.
Well, Well, we haven't finished yet. We're halfway through. Look at this. Tovey continued, noting that RTD was a perfect example of the kind of person you want during production. This project was just beautiful. RTD is just the best person because he will text. He will watch the dailies every day, and he will text everybody, all the head of departments. It says apartments there, but departments, all the actors. That was great. Wow, I love that, the way you did this line. Every single person. And he says he never repeats the same text as someone else in case people have sat next to each other and they suddenly see that he's just copy and pasting the same text.
Can I just ask, is someone off camera twisting his arm or holding some kind of weapon at him or something? It looks
No, they're just all lovies.
Yes.
Lovies to an extreme overplaying part now, isn't it? This is just wet sickness for me. I mean, come on.
In a normal management situation, Davis's behaviour there would be seen as micromanagement and quite overbearing.
Yeah.
To be honest,
I'm sure if you do something wrong or if you don't do what you're being told, you know about it. Here we go.
But it doesn't sound like in the past there was a particularly good atmosphere to work on, Doctor Who, does it? Allegedly, in the past.
Yeah. Well, let me get on to this. We'll have a chat. But that is galvanizing for cast and crew. Is that your head man? The head honcho is so on top of everything and watching and complimentary. It continues here. In terms of how much backstory Doctor Who fans should be aware of going into it, Tovey notes that the spin-off is, and I quote, a refresh of the Whoniverse. Stories that came before it. Oh God, what should the die-hard Doctor Who fans know about it? Well, the story of these creatures has appeared in Doctor Who episodes. It might have been the 60s and maybe again, but this has been a refresh of that, Tovey shared. You've got members of UNIT in there. Gemma Redgrave is so brilliant. She's the same character in this, but it's so elevated. Gugu Mbatha-Raw is in prosthetics and phenomenal. I don't know how she does it. I think it's got everything for the Doctor Who world, but it also feels completely fresh. What Dylan Holmes-Williams, whose director, feels like an indie film. I wanted it to feel gritty and indie and dynamic in that way. And they were like, absolutely. So that's confirmation.
They've just destroyed the Sea Devils then. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, that's confirmation, isn't it? The Sea Devils are different. There's this as well to round it off. Created and executive produced by RTD, who's co-writing with Pete McTeague. The 5-part series stars Tovey and Gugu Mbatha-Raw. In addition, we're going to see some very familiar unit faces with Gemma Redgrave, Alexander Deviant returning as Colonel Ibrahim, and Ruth Madley returning as Shirley Ann Bingham. In addition, Adrian Lucas, Patrick Ballardi, Vincent Franklin, Francesca Corney, and Mai Mack have joined the series. Dylan Holmes-Williams directs, with Davis penning episodes 1 and 5, and Pete McTeague penning 2 and 3, with both Davis and Teague penning 4. So there you go. There's confirmation that the war between the land and the sea has reinvented the Sea Devils, everybody.
We kind of half expected that if they're going to bring them back just to ruin them again, didn't we, to be fair?
Yeah.
Do they think that they can improve on Malcolm Hulke and invent them better? Yeah. Because I'll tell you now, they can't. I don't know what they look like. I only know what we know so far and nothing more, but I know it will not be as good as the Sea Devils. Even Warriors of the Deep, and that wasn't as good as the Sea Devils by quite a margin.
Paul Thomas
off the scale.
Thank you for your super sticker here, Paul Thomas Ashworth. He knows that I like this. This is a pear with a cup of coffee. Thank you very much. Cheers to you. Thank you very much. Craig Dunlop saying to us, Surf versus Turf would be a more intriguing title. And Tim Kintz, how could you compare modern Doctor Who to a floater? That's awful and not very funny at all. Lex is saying to us, thank you for your super chat, Lex. Jaws will eat the logo up. And say, Rosie won't be watching the spin-off either. There's no interest in it. I mean, when he comes out saying something like that, and it's, I mean, having read that aloud, it sounds as bad as it did in my head.
Yeah.
And it was just all slightly sycophantic. I just think.
I think if Russell T Davies stopped suddenly, Tovey's head would go halfway up his arse, wouldn't it? And that was clear from what he was saying. But is this the same, oh so kind, wonderful, empowering, lovely, gentle, nicey Russell T Davies that told somebody to F off on Instagram this week?
Yeah.
We're going to come to that. Stay with us. We're coming to that very soon, actually, because he's only kind to the people who are around him that agree with him. allegedly.
Yeah, and of course you can't say no to Russell, can you? Allegedly, so that's it.
Nobody dare. Nobody dare.
We've got this here from John Cartwright, guys. I predict the spin-off will be full of mythical climate change and identity or woke politics. So yesterday, President Trump is making sure of that. Well, that ties in, John, with my continuing belief since last year, or maybe even the year before, that Doctor Who Series 2 and its spin-off are now terribly out of date. And time will tell on that, because of course here on Who's Views we're going to be, as you all know, watching Series 2 of alleged Doctor Who. We're going to be looking at that, but when this thing comes along we're also going to be looking at that, so stay tuned. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, why not subscribe? It's brilliant. We've got lots of stuff here for you. Give us a like as well, and come and share our pain, quite frankly.
Can I say something that's interesting? If they're going to bring back an old enemy, why do they have to insist on redesigning it? Either do their own thing and leave that alone. That's the best thing to do, isn't it? Rather than changing it just for sake of changing it, because it doesn't fit modern audiences. Nonsense.
Yeah. I totally agree. I mean, the whole point of them doing this thing with the Sea Devils, to me, it's lazy.
Yeah.
They obviously want to do something which is about a message of what's happening with the climate and the seas and that sort of stuff, just like Aquaman 2 did, everybody, with a bigger budget. So you've got all that going on. And then he's thought, as the fans that they are, oh, we've got the Sea Devils as well, haven't we? Let's bring them. And then, as you say, Paul, they go and change them so that fans can't relate to them. Oh, so they're going to pull off what they tried to do badly, by the way, in the Moffat era with the Silurians. They're now going to say, well, this is these aren't the Sea Devils, this is going to be another
strain. Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah.
Listen, it's not going to work, because a Sea Devil is a Sea Devil, and that's why they worked in the 70s, because they were beautiful.
Bizarrely though, they brought them back in Jodie's era, and they looked fantastic. That was the best thing about that story.
But they kept to the design, though, didn't they?
Yeah.
And that was a few short years ago, and now they're changing them. And to answer your question, the reason they can't come up with anything that's original is because they can't. They're out of ideas. They're burnt out. Burnt out. It's all gone. Amore, the article shows the power of contracts and your agent pushing you. Komodo is saying soy boy. Absolutely. Blue Planet is going ugh. And Len looks back is saying, kind, what bollocks, seriously. It was, wasn't it? It really was. Pooh's Lost Eyes.
If you want to infuse Doctor Who fans with the Sea Devils coming back, then you'd want to update them in a way that takes the visual look that they had, and just improve the little bits that didn't work. So, like in the original,
like Daryl did, like Daryl's images.
Just where I was going, Paul. Not surprisingly, it's like it's all right. We're generally on a par. It's the eyes were very static in Pertwee, weren't they? And then in Warriors of the Deep, they at least got them blinking very slowly, which of course a reptile wouldn't do. But now you can do that post-production. Can't you? Just really clicky eyes and everything, and the mouths moving and looking like what Daryl drew, and then that would really fire people up. But no, we've got to make it people in makeup, and it's just
and it's all because of that. Thanks, Lex. There's your super chat there. Thank you very much. It's all because of that pretentious thing of having to see. They think they want to see the actors, that we want to see the actors. That's not what Doctor Who's about. We are not Star Trek. No offense, but we don't. In Doctor Who, we don't want to see the bloody actor. We want to see the monster because we'll see the actor later on. There were whole videos during the Wilderness years, wasn't there? Of I was the Doctor Who monster.
Yeah.
And even now, some of the alleged actors that are in this thing that are playing Cybermen and stuff, you can see some of them on the convention circuit. No, give us the monsters. They are terrified of giving us monsters now, Who viewers. They're in case some poor little soul is traumatized or pushed into anxiety because there's a man in a wetsuit on the telly going boo. Shane Spangler, hello. How about Are You Being Sea Deviled? Half hour of double entendres and innuendo, and don't worry if the tentacles are a bit long, you'll find they'll ride up with where.
That sounds more interesting than what we're going to get, definitely.
Yeah. Well, that's
carry on up the Kyber, kind of.
Let's face it, that's probably what you're going to get here on Who's Views when this thing comes out.
So please, Snowman, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We still don't know who this is aimed. What if it's going to be an evening show or a kids show? We don't know what's going to be, do we? So far,
no. But no, we've got that here. This is it. This is the start of them. But it's interesting, isn't it? This is very interesting that this is coming out now, slowly and slowly. I reckon it could be the summer or towards the end of the summer, actually. And then this is all done and dusted. Ark in Space, nice to see you. Could this be as bad as Legend of the Sea Devils? You'll have to ask those two, because I never saw that and never will.
I actually think that Legend of the Sea Devils compared to this will be quite good, I think. Yeah.
And Legend of the Sea Devils was crap.
Exactly, yeah.
The only saving grace in that was, as Paul said, the Sea Devils really looked good. They kept them. Yeah. They rolled.
Well, the masks did, not the rest of the costume, but yeah.
Yeah, the costume was ridiculous, but the mask bits corrected where Warriors of the Deep went wrong. Although it was a similar samurai-ish theme, wasn't it? But
kind of, yeah.
Sort of Pirates of the Caribbean-ish instead. But yeah, they were much more faithful to the Pertwee variants, which of course were the best.
Well, of course, the Legend of the Sea Devil was for a little while there until Shooty Gatwa's version came along, the lowest rated Doctor Who in history. That, of course, now has been beaten. But anyway,
one thing about Legend of the Sea Devils, the editing is appalling. You know, I think Benjamin Cook did that one. Oops.
Allegedly. We've got this from Pooh's Lost Eyes. He wants it to feel indie and gritty, but no doubt they're filming on state-of-the-art digital cameras because they're posers. And Mike Disney is saying gritty and indie could be pseudonyms for shite. I'm quite concerned though, actually, everybody, because I didn't think indie was allowed to be a thing now. I thought it was all T and Q now. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? What else have we got here? It's great to see you all in the chat. Keep the chats coming, and I will try and keep you all on screen here. How dare they assume the pronouns of the Sea Devils? Surely it should be the Sea Devil, they, them devils. The Sea, they, them devils. Shame on you, BBC and Disney and RTD, who knows all about these things. Stephen Braddock, the new Sea Devils were leaked, but it's been taken down. They look terrible, like human snub-nosed crocodiles with black eyes, abysmal. Well, we reported it on one of our headlines and it's stuck into one of the shows. So if you want to see it, you'll have to find out which one it is by going back and having a look at them. We've also got this from Lex Kane. Thank you, JT, for the chit chat. Yes, Lex joined me for a chit chat, which was dropped here on the channel on Friday. If you haven't seen it yet, it's part of our latest chit chat series. Lots more coming up for you in that. You made me feel welcome. You wouldn't.
You made me feel old when I watched it.
Yeah, no, yeah, me too. And I was talking to him. You wouldn't tell I was born not able to talk properly. I got talk therapy by 8 years and I could talk. Thank you, JT, for all you do, Lex and Obi. If you don't know who Obi is, Obi's his rabbit. And we had the picture of Obi in his chit chat. Lex, you're very welcome, and I'm glad you enjoyed the show. But yeah, Lex's chit chat, thank you for your super chat as well, is there for you on our chit chat playlist. It's available right now. Got a lot of people in there as well talking to us, and a lot more coming. So that's really great. Yes, so Mark is with us. Let's have a look at this. The war between the fans and the BBC looks like it's dead in the water. Absolutely, Mark. I hope you got your emails. I responded to your emails today. I hope you got them. And Carwyn Morris, the more I hear, the less I care.
Yeah.
We're all like that, I think, Carwyn, aren't we, guys?
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. Paul Shawnee saying to us, the Sea Devils was my first ever story for Doctor Who. I was 6 and very scared and totally hooked and very emotional. I can't get interested in it anymore. It's sad, I know. But listen, you're not alone. We're all here with you, Paul Shawnee. We're all here with you. So stay with us because we're all in the same boat. And listen, there is more of us in that boat. Dodgy subjects I know right now, talking about boats. But there's more of us together than there isn't, if you know what I mean. Okay, it's a minority who's supporting this thing, whether they like me to say it or not. And believe you me, they don't. There's more of us that are not interested in these things. And it's all going to come out very soon, isn't it? Oh, yeah. Because as Doc Martin says, it all sounds fishy to me. Yeah, it absolutely does. So there you go. That's the latest update on this thing. What this alleged spin-off. I mean, it's like I said a wee while ago. They haven't even got the main show right, and then they ran off and did spin-offs. I mean,
as I said before, it's arrogance. They thought this will be the best thing since the last time they did it, and it wasn't. So that's the thing.
Yeah,
arrogance or desperation.
Yeah.
Well, it was just to use up all the money. I'm sure. I mean, what I would have done if I'd had all this money is not only just produce proper Doctor Who and science fiction drama, which was open to anybody to watch. But I would have actually looked at doing 2 series of more than 16 episodes.
Yeah.
Because you could have had these extra 5 taking the episodes up to 21 of Doctor Who. and then I would have looked at doing the casting correctly. Oh, there's do you know what I mean? It's Oh. JT, did you say Colonel Abrams? Can't you see I'm trapped by a sea devil in a cave? I can't get out. Thank you for that. Yes, you did. Yeah, I'm glad you spotted that, Paul. Absolutely. One of my little jokes. You can laugh if you like. Hello to Daryl, who's joining us. Nice to see you, Daryl, in the chat. Thank you. Hope all is well. And as Kirsty is saying to us, please hit the like button and subscribe. Yes, thank you to Kirsty and Garbage, both of whom are in there looking after everybody in the chat tonight. Thank you, guys. Nice to see you both. And X-Men 577, I'm afraid after the second season of this Doctor Who, it'll probably be cancelled. We're going to come to that very shortly, X-Men 577, because I don't think it's probably. I think it's done.
Yeah.
Interesting, isn't it? I subscribed long ago, JT, says John Cartwright. You're my favourite programme. I never miss an episode. Such great debates. Oh, thank you so much, John, and everybody else. And one of the reasons it's such a great debate is because you lot are all here. It's not just me and these two. So thank you so much for joining us. Lots of you in the chat's talking about that one. At least we're up to date now, aren't we? We're up to date of where this thing is and what's going on with it. And don't worry, we'll be keeping an eye on this alleged Sea Devil spin-off. And yeah, I'm sure there's a lot more to come where we're going to be talking about it, and they're definitely going to annoy us even more, aren't they?
There'll be more leaks as well, I imagine, near we get to it as well.
Yeah.
More photographs of Sea Devils, some of the called.
Alleged Sea Devils. Well, maybe we might actually be doing something wrong, and they might have come up with a brand new villain, but what's the odds?
Yeah, don't think
what's
so.
The odds?
Yeah.
Nonsense, isn't it? These so-called creatives, says Raymond Williams, can think of new monsters or villains. Just ripping off better writers' ideas were lazy and unimaginative. I think I should say there. Can't think. You're right, Raymond. We're all in the same boat there. And the Who Den is saying to us, "Hi guys, hello to the Who Den. Good to see you. Good to see you all. There's a lot of you in the chat tonight. A lot of you joining us. You are watching, of course, your big show Sunday nights headlines, and we're going to move on to our next one because this gentleman isn't happy this week. John Barrowman, of course, Captain Jack Harkness himself. Now, we did mention this, Mr. Barrowman, last week briefly in the show, but this is a story that isn't going away. And it just amuses me in a perverse sort of sense that this thing isn't going away, because from my point of view, and I don't necessarily sit with all these whiny kids on the internet that are going, oh, we did this. No, it was disgusting. No, it was a totally different time. Yeah. He's not the only person in show business to have done what he did. And it was dealt with at the time, which was nearly 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Why did they have to dig it up? And I just find it pathetic. But anyway, we're going to talk about it now as well, because he's not happy and he's in the news again. So this is John. This one is from Wales Online. John Barrowman, disgusted by how he was treated by Doctor Who and Torchwood stars and crew. In a tell-all interview with Wales Online, John Barrowman revealed he is disgusted by how he was treated. So this is going to be of no surprise to any of us, to be quite honest. But here we go with the story.
So they're not all so nice, are they, after all?
Yeah. Well,
no.
Allegedly.
Well, it's no shocker to any of us, is it? But here we go with this story. From a glittering career that saw him starring in some of the BBC's biggest shows, Doctor Who and Torchwood, and landing a spot on the judging panel of flagship ITV show Dancing on Ice, John Barrowman had a very abrupt fall from grace. He was, in his words, blackballed after accusations of flashing on the set of Doctor Who. After the accusations came to a head in 2021, John has struggled to get any work since and has rarely appeared back on television. Now, in a tell-all interview with Wales Online, John said he is disgusted by how the stars and crew of Doctor Who and Torchwood treated him. He said, I'm disgusted at the way my Doctor Who and Torchwood family turned their backs on me. 99% of the things that were said about me were bullshit, and I'm under the impression that the person who started it all, the journalists who ran with it, and the online judge and jury who think they can say what they like, seem to have a privilege to ruin someone's life and career. No one was offended, no one was upset, and it was created by a source. Now, the article is behind a paywall. But you can go and look at this thing, and he is very, very annoyed. He is very annoyed. And the more I read his side of the story, which has never come out, the more I think he has an absolute right to be. And the more I thought, actually, you know, I'm going to be with you on this, actually, because it was another case of some person, whoever that person was, being offended on behalf of other people.
Yeah.
Yes. And yet this was dealt with, as we know, because it's been proven, it's been spoken about, it was dealt with by Julie Gardner back in 2004 when they were filming the first series, the Eccleston series of Doctor Who.
And he was reprimanded for it then, wasn't he? So that should be enough to make it stand, surely, you know?
Yes. So why is it out there again? Why has John? This was and people say, especially certain people associated with Doctor Who, cancel culture doesn't exist. Well, tell that to John. Tell that to Gareth Roberts. Tell that to James Dreyfus. Because these hypocrites are so terrified of a very vocal minority. But it was years before the internet even took off. We didn't have all this stuff back in 2005 when the show was broadcast, and 2004 when they were filming the blooming thing.
What I'm really impressed with, though, about this is that, I mean, obviously it's John's career, so he has to fight for this, but I'm good on him for keep fighting and keep trying to get back into getting work, because he should get work, because I think it's been a huge overreaction, as he said in the article, and I think that it needs to be sorted, and someone needs to be brave enough to give him a job.
Yeah.
I think some of the people who have turned their backs on him have probably done far worse and just haven't been caught. You know, I mean, I remember them before all this came out, obviously, when in the earlier years when Davis was doing his first run, there was talk about the banter going on allegedly between Tennant and Barrowman. And it was all either about farting competitions or about penis lengths or whatever, because Tennant obviously was known as
Tennant.
Tennant.
That was the nickname given to him by Billy.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
And how did that come about? It should, you know, hello, my name's Billy Piper. Hi, you know, I'm David Tennant. By the way, I've got a 10-inch cock. I mean, that isn't the conversation. That
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Yeah. So how did that come about? There's got to have been what would be viewed as, if you're prude, would be viewed as an inappropriate conversation about an inappropriate topic in an inappropriate workplace. But certain people are on the left and of a certain supporting variety, so seem to get a free pass when it comes to inappropriate behavior.
It's about knowing your audience, isn't it? That's the thing. Who you speak to in conversation about that kind of thing, having a laugh, a bit of banter. It's who you have to watch what you say sometimes. That's the thing.
Yeah. Are you suggesting, Ian, that people are two-tier? How very odd of you. How very odd.
Yeah. I am sort of like leaning that way.
The thing is about this as well is that I can tell you that Mr. Barrowman wasn't the only person at the time in the show business industry doing this. There are a couple of other actors that I know of that were also doing the same thing to their colleagues behind the scenes at more or less the same time, and then one who was doing it a few years later on another show. But you don't hear about them. Now, if I would feel that those actors are crapping their pants right now in case somebody outs them and they get the same treatment that Mr. Barrowman has had. You can't live like that. It was years ago. We were in a different culture then here in the United Kingdom. You could have a laugh.
It was a joke. That's the whole point.
And you've got to remember as well that John, God love him, is incredibly camp, and he's very enthusiastic and energetic, and he's very free and easy. All these things you're not allowed to be now. Yeah. So I don't see why people were judging the context of what was going on behind the scenes where none of us were. And
I remember a lovely story Colin Baker told about being in Panto with Mary Tam, and apparently, or another production, and she used to flash in the wings to try and make him.
She did, to coax him.
Even then,
a lot of actors did that. There are certain biographies and autobiographies I've read where they would admit to doing it, but they're all long gone now. Not that's going to stop anybody trying to cancel them, quite frankly. Yeah. But they would say, there was a particular actress not associated with the Doctor Who that did something similar. She would stand at the side, allegedly, of the stage and flash to her leading man and the others to corpse them, because it was part of what. It frustrates me, all this nonsense. We got Glenn here with us, guys. Also, there was a Doctor Who story in 2005 where a robot made John Barrowman naked, and a sign came on screen covering his privates. BBC are not innocent in my eyes. I remember that. That was the Dalek one, wasn't it? With the two Billy and Susanna robot things.
Yeah.
I didn't like that particular scene for the simple reason where he was keeping the gun and they made a fun of it. I thought that's RTD, and I didn't think that was very Doctor Who. I didn't like that. I thought, no, not having that. But I know the one you mean there as well. What else we got here as well? Gosh, a lot of you on this particular one as well. Bedweir is saying, I had the pleasure to work with John and I never had an issue with him. He was great fun. Absolutely. I'm sure he is. Everyone at the time, said John, seemed to find it funny, including his co-stars. Well, allegedly, there was one particular co-star who didn't. But because that co-star said something about it at the time, that's where it went to the management of the executives and all that, and it was dealt with, and everything was dealt with.
It all started though. It all started though with a convention clip somewhere, wasn't it? That had Noel Clarke and Camille Kaduri on it, and other people talking about behaviour on set. And it came out during that, and that clip was taken out of context, wasn't it? I think
everything's always taken out of context. But what gets me is the fact that it's always going to be somebody, probably a far left person, who gets offended on behalf of other people. Give over. Give yourself a break. Get a job. And just be offended for yourself and keep your mouth shut like the rest of us did for years and years. And
I mean, people forget, don't they, that offence is taken. People don't give you offence. So it's not Barrowman that's giving people offence. It's somebody else that's taking it. So it doesn't mean that he necessarily did anything bad in the total scheme of things, considering the circumstances and the context. But somebody else has decided, they have taken that offence and decided to run with it. And that's the thing. I mean, again, people that think that they can go through life never being offended are beyond arrogant, quite honestly. You know,
well, life isn't that easy, although they seem to think it is. And over the last few years, of course, they've been desperately trying to shape life into their image. That's all coming to an end. It's not happening, and they're sulking about it. We're going to be talking about that in a second. Isn't Barrowman currently doing a one-man show going into great detail about this injustice to his manhood, said Mike Disney? Yes, he's currently touring the United Kingdom. He's doing his one-man show with his singing, and I think there's a couple of sketches in there. Might be wrong on that, but he is being very honest, and he's putting his side of the story. And it's
called Barrowman Laid Bare, which is a bit worrying to start off with, to be fair, but
well, but it's John.
I know,
It's John, and it's his sense of humour. And to be quite honest, his sense of humour is where a lot of us were 20 years ago. It was a lot freer. I mean, when you look at what's happened, we are more restricted today on everything than we were 20 years ago. How the world has changed because of these extreme left-wing ideologists. God, it's ridiculous. SG is
but just be nice, it'll be fine.
Yeah, be kind. Yeah. Be realistic, I would say. Never mind the kindness eventually, especially this week in the United Kingdom. Sod the kindness. Let's be real. SG, I know what John's going through after I lost my job in 2010. Yeah, sorry to hear that, SG. I hope everything's all right for you now. It's not easy. It's not easy, is it? When you know these things are happening, it's absolutely terrible. But I hope you're okay, and I'm glad you're with us. Did Barrowman stack up for James Dreyfus, etc., says Prince Valium in The Restless Nights? To be honest, he probably doesn't know anything about it. You've got to remember as well that Bog Fanish also held back a Barrowman and Tennant Torchwood episode or story, didn't they, Paul, on their CDs?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You know,
and the thing is, somebody has to make a stand and say, look, enough's enough. Here's a job. That's what we need to do, really.
Yeah. I mean, it's as Marjorie's saying, it was 20 years ago. Move on. And yet these people won't allow it. Honestly, Bedweir again. The David Tennant nickname even came up when Tennant appeared on Top Gear with Jeremy Clarkson, somebody else that was cancelled, possibly for good reason on that particular one. But they still don't like him today for other reasons now, because he tends to do this. He's quite gobby now, isn't he? But thank God people like that are, because they're in positions that should be gobbing off against all the nonsense. Raymond Williams, where are John's showbiz friends like Tennant, etc.? Certainly John will know who is his true friends are now. Does John still do his Edinburgh Playhouse show? This is the big question, isn't it? And it's like we were saying last week about Mr. Gaiman. Do people, are their friends getting in touch with them, or do they disappear because, you can't be seen to be talking to them? I mean, we've all had this position where you suddenly realize who your friends are,
But there's also at least a level of context. I mean, you can't really put John in with Mr. Gaiman. It's a different thing, isn't it? Entirely. Until it's proven, what's going to come from
proven
this.
guilty.
Exactly. But you can't. They're lumping John in with the likes of the BBC crowd, if you know what I mean, in terms of what came out from that, Mr. H and Mr. S, etc. You know what I mean? So there's all these people that are far worse than what John did, but he got treated the same way, lumped together, don't you think?
Exactly. A lot of people in the chat, guys, are saying to us, like Julianne is here, and I love that avatar she's got. 2004, Barrowman returned with Jodie's doctor, and she said he had been fun to work with on set, full of positive energy. So why was this dragged up so many years later? What a bunch of hypocrites. Exactly. Yeah. And according to Paul and Ian, they were editing him out, weren't they? Of the
Jodie he was going to be in the last episode for Jodie, but called all this kicked off between previous appearance with Jodie and the last episode she had, and they replaced him with a different character in Flux, because wasn't Vinda kind of like a replacement for Barrowman, do you think, John? Ian?
I do, actually. A bit of a sort of like carbon coffee or a emu version of Captain Jack, but
and Rogue's the same. That's Captain Jack, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Well, Rogue is a replacement, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
Didn't they end his bit in the Christmas special with just a voiceover instead?
That's right. Yeah.
So even the episode he was in throughout, they just made it a voiceover at the end because it was all breaking around that time. It's pathetic, really. It's like we've said before, they want to be the moral arbiters of everybody else, and that is based on an unbelievable level of far left arrogance, I think. Remember how often, and this happened after Barrowman, how long did the BBC protect that newsreader?
And possibly still are.
Far worse than Barrowman. He was just larking around with other adults.
Yeah, exactly.
But some people are more in than others.
Yeah, but as you said, and what we're seeing an awful lot now, and it's all coming, I have to say, from the far left, the hypocrisy. Because they put themselves and they spin themselves into untruths, and they keep telling stories, and they keep saying that's real, and it isn't. And then the double standards are coming out. We're seeing it more and more and more here in the UK, even from our current PM. It's all there. It's absolutely shocking. But show business is rife with the double standards, as Ian was saying there. Mark Greaves, thank you for your super chat. Does this mean that Robert Downey will be a target for his role in Tropic Thunder? I met Barrowman twice. He was funny, kind, and a true gentleman. I met Barrowman when he was on one of the Torchwood box set tours, and he was lovely, considering I sat on his knee for about 10 minutes. And eventually had to say, can you get up now, please? But anyway, it was a long time ago, but he was a very nice gentleman. And yes, he had the others people involved with that sitting in HMV alongside him. And he's now coming out with this interview saying, I've not heard from anyone. There was no support. Yeah. This is what happens when you are cancelled by these people. And people suddenly think, oh, I mustn't get in touch with them. I can't say anything. Your friendship goes down the toilet. So they're no friends anyway. And you feel alone and you feel isolated. So he's also touched on the fact he felt it. These people go on about mental health, anxiety, and all this. He's had that, and do they care? No, they don't. No, they don't. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Matt, the Silent Wee Music King, is saying to us, "Children of Earth, Barrowman was naked at one point, but that was because Jack at the time had been exploded up, reformed, locked up, and broken out of a concrete-filled cell." I remember that now. You said it, Matt.
And that was after the Watershed, that episode as well. She was fine.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, but why was he naked? I can't remember. Was there a reason why he was naked? Because the clothes were being burnt off.
It's blown up and reconformed, and obviously the clothes wouldn't do that.
But it does seem to me that there was an awful lot of fascination, possibly, allegedly, with John's naked self in television as well. He
wouldn't have said that scene towards the end of Eccleston's first series where he was there with Trini and Susanna. I very much doubt he would have said in the read-through, let me get naked in that scene. I think that would have been scripted. Yeah. So, that's coming right from the top, from the arch-chancellor, if you like.
Yeah. So, and as we've said before, when an actor is hired to do a job, and I'm even going to put Gatwa into this, he's been hired to do a job, he's going to do what he's told.
Yeah.
They do. There's only so far they can go before a director or a producer comes down the steps and said, what are you playing at? And do you want this job? It's only so far you'll go. Glenn Piper is saying, "'Tis not the last of John Barrowman. He will be back, I'm sure. Common sense will prevail." Hopefully common sense will prevail, but I can't see John ever returning to Doctor Who. There's too much going out there. And now he's had this interview where he's actually said, "I'm really not happy with these people. I'm disgusted that they threw me under the bus." These people will hold grudges longer than I do, quite frankly. Simon L will say, "Hi, JT. We need to go back to the days when we said, I find that offensive instead of people saying that's offensive. To be offended on anyone's behalf says that you think everyone thinks the same as you." It's a massive assumption, isn't it, Simon?
Yeah.
That they do. A massive assumption. And it shows their ignorance and the real pathetic view of life and people around them. And we've got here from Mark Jones saying, "When people tell me they are offended, I just say, well, I'm offended that you're offended." And I can see their brains going into meltdown. I'm sure you can, actually. I'm sure you absolutely can.
It's just a way to shut down conversation, though, isn't it? I'm offended. I won't say anymore. That's it. It's terrible.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm offended by RuPaul's Drag Race, and I can't see them taking it off the screens. You know, but
I'm sure there's more people offended by that old crone show than there is who like it around the world. I can assure you, honestly. But no, they won't listen
just
to all
turn
of us.
off you and stop watching it. That's all I can say.
It's no wonder the kids are all poisoned as well with brainwashing, because it's in that show. If you look at some of these people that go on that show, some of these very poorly young men, basically, who think they're women, and they're going on about all this nonsense. I'm sorry, all this fantasy stuff. It's no wonder that we're dealing with all this drag rights and give over. It just drives me insane, because they're all insane, and some of it stems from that old crone's show. Honestly, get it off the air and let's get back to some sanity. The Zero Room saying, "I'm a liberal and even I think everything is being taken way too far." You're a sensible liberal then, because we're all sort of liberal as well, you know, and it's just all gone way, way, way too much. That's why I always refer to it as the far left, because they're dangerous. I swear to you, they're dangerous. We've seen it. Blimey, says Julianne, "RTD has offended millions of Doctor Who fans, but we are far right plebs, so it's fine."
Yeah. What do we know? Yeah.
Exactly. On the yes, Zero Room is also coming back to us on the Mr. Gaiman stuff. He has now been dropped by Dark Horse Comics, which I found absolutely ridiculous. I saw that just the other day. I don't know if you guys did as well, but yes, they have dropped him. And I just thought, there's no innocence until proven guilty there. They've assumed and they've judged and they've jumped on a bandwagon. Bang.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. These people, honestly. But Bog Fanish did the same thing, didn't they?
The thing about it is, though, it's like, why was it not called out sooner? That's the bit that gets me all the time. Not Barrowman, but Gaiman. I don't understand that, you know. But...
No. And they are two, as you said, they are two. John's situation and Mr. Gaiman's situation, totally different incidences, but it still comes down to the cancel culture that these people argue is not going well. Sheila B is saying here, "Sadly, JB's show is not selling very well. They're giving tickets away." That's a shame. But again, he's been out of the public eye here in the UK because of this for years. So he did try to get back. We reported last year he's tried to heighten his process, but he went on the wrong show. He went on the wrong celebrity, whatever it was, show, didn't he? And he lasted 20 minutes or whatever it was. But nobody else would have him. It's very difficult. We've seen so many people in the industry trying to get back into their jobs and into their industry by going on these celebrity vehicle shows, but they always choose the wrong ones. They never get it quite right, do they? Apart from Joan Rivers back in America all those years ago. Joan Rivers, of course, did the American version of The Apprentice with a certain Mr. Donald Trump and won the blooming thing, and then her career went stellar again, didn't it? She got it right. Oh, I miss Joan Rivers. The world needs people like Joan Rivers now. God love her.
Sharp, wasn't she? She was very sharp, like a razor.
Oh, she was brilliant. Oh, honestly, it was totally brilliant. My God, she's needed in the world today. The Lady Knightsbridge is with us. Hello to the Lady Knightsbridge. It's unlikely Barrowman will return to Doctor Who. He is a white male after all.
Yeah.
Oh, we're coming to that in this show in just a few minutes as well. Thank you all for joining us. Absolutely fantastic. Mark is giving us another lovely super chat here. 6 episodes into RuPaul's Drag Race, not seen a single car yet. It was shortly afterwards. It was shortly afterwards. I thought, hang on a minute, this isn't a car show. That's brilliant. Well done, Mark. That's cheered us up. Thank you for that one. That's brilliant. I love that. Thank you. And William Orlock is with us. Hello, William. How are you? Vengeance on Varus is truly one of the most prophetic classics.
Yep.
Isn't it just? And it's a brilliant 2 episodes, isn't it? But you're absolutely right. He saw it coming, didn't he? Rick Storm. I'm not saying anything about this one. They tried to get her on that, but she bounced back. She came back fighting, didn't she? She was brilliant. God, love her. I'm going to show you this as well. This particular tweet came from X. Well, X posting, we can't tweet, whatever you want to call it, from the one and only, the legend that is, of course, J.K. Rowling. A noisy part of the left still refuses to step outside their sex as a social construct bubble and acknowledge that their embrace of gender identity ideology has been a calamity. They were warned the right was capitalizing on the betrayal of women and girls, and they didn't listen. So, what might that have to do with Doctor Who? Well, you know fine well where it's got to do with Doctor Who, haven't you? Because we know, because we've reported here on Who's Views over the last year especially, of certain ideologies that we all have seen creeping into Doctor Who, especially from the David Tennant and Catherine Tate specials onwards. We all know their story. It's the TQ cult, isn't it? And a certain gentleman became the president of the United States of America this very, very week for the second time in office. Yes, we're talking, of course, at this particular point about Donald Trump, who wasted no time at all in actually giving out a hell of a lot of what I would call reality. One being, and I can't believe that the president of the United States of America, of all people, has to say this. I can't believe anybody has to say it because it's basic human common sense. But it's now written into law in America that there are only 2 genders, male and female. Yes, I know it's a shock to all of you. You might have to sit down with this. You might have to. Yes, I know it's an awful lot of shock, isn't it? But it's a fact, everybody. It's a fact. But guess who didn't like it? Put your answers on a postcard, everybody. And this is what he put on his Instagram. It won't be like this forever. So this has gone very, very quickly around fandom, hasn't it? From RTD himself, who we all know can't tell the difference between men and women unless he wants to, because he seems to think that TWs are women and TMs are men. He's a gay man. He's a same-sex attracted man. He should know that a trans woman, a TW, isn't. Do you know what I mean?
He's an old gay man who is trying desperately to stay relevant with a younger crowd.
The problem is that younger crowd, in my estimation, as a same-sex attracted homosexual man, have been brainwashed with mistruths. It's now all starting to come out. We've had a report that's been published in Britain this very week, over the last couple of days, which says that, you know, a huge amount of our youth are now anxious over their gender. And the reason being for that is because it's pushed, this ideology is pushed in primary schools and secondary schools in our country. It's disgusting. It's shocking. We've got very woke, extreme left-wing teachers, not all of them, I hasten to add, out there in schools telling children there are more than 2 genders. We've got drag queens going into the schools reading inappropriate, in my eyes, material about how there's more than 2 genders. No wonder they're all bloody anxious by the time they're 16 and 17 years old.
And being a drag queen's not a gender as well, which is really confusing.
It's a frock. It's a man in a frock in a job telling hopefully un-PC jokes to an adult, usually LGBT audience. That's all changed now, isn't it? Because they send them in. And it's usually, let me say this, white heterosexuals who feel they're being trendy or they're being, you know, tolerant and, oh, look at me, sending these things in. They've got to have a real good look at themselves. But anyway, that's where we're going. But the fact is, there are 2 genders. There you are. I'm hoping that what the United States president has said will at some point come back and hit the British government and all our people in the Britain with a dose of common sense. But yes, you know it. This is what he said. As I said, it won't be like this forever. He put on. He's obviously been in some sort of bar or something to get some sign like that. And then somebody got back to him. So we'd like to say hello to Sandra Haddad 0707 on Instagram, who very, 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 very frankly said, stay out of US politics. Now, that is a little bit unfair, to be honest, Millie. I understand where you're coming from, and I know what you're saying, but to be honest, everybody has a right to say something about it, especially when it is your country and your president, because like it or not, it has a knock-on effect to everybody else in the world, because you have the most powerful president in the world, even though a certain other person on the other side may not like me saying that. It begins with P, but it's true, isn't it, guys? You know, so it has a knock-on effect. Yeah. So under the democratic rights of the world, as we understand them to have been, he has a right to actually criticize something, doesn't he, really, whether we agree with him or not. But she had also a right to give her opinion of stay out of US politics. But yes, it's now famous, isn't it? Because he came back with this.
Yeah, it's not very articulate, is it, to be fair?
Well, it's probably the most detailed script he's written now. That's all his own work.
Yeah.
Again,
he's blowing a kiss there as well. I noticed in the emoji.
I know. Look at that. I know. So this was from just a few short days ago, wasn't it? This very week. And thanks to Kirsty for pointing all this out to me as well, because Kirsty's our Instagram expert. But, you know, we had all this, and this hit fandom. But there he goes again, showing his true colours now. This man is so devout to this cult.
I think his statement, "This won't last forever," is an interesting statement that Neon Signey took a photograph of, because I think if Mr. Trump has his way, then I think that he'll get him for a third term. I'm sure he's going to try and make sure he can turn the Constitution.
Well, apparently, according to something I saw, now Americans in the audience, you can let us know about this. Apparently, Donald Trump can't, because this is his second term. So that's his 8. So he can't, but the Republicans can. And it certainly means they could open the door for anybody in his family.
I think there was one occasion, I think, where one president got in during the Second World War, I think, and he got to run another term.
Circumstances, that, isn't it, really?
So maybe, I wouldn't surprise me. He's trying to change things in the system, and he's getting away with a lot of things. So you never know. You may get, precedent, no pun intended.
I would say to him as well, I think he's 78. I don't think he's going to want to. I think he's going to want to make his mark this, because in my eyes, there's a complete difference to him now than there was the other time, and he seems to be more relaxed and more content with what he's going to do. And certainly in the last week, he's actually done everything he was going to do. He's done it, and then there's more to come. Right, so we've got that. But I don't think he will. I think he'll say, right, I've done. Who's next?
I think he'll
be Elon Musk.
If in those 4 years, America really gets turned around and becomes an absolute powerhouse, and things go really, really well, then nobody's going to go back to the batshit situation that you had with the Democrats. Nobody's going to want it at all. And like, I think when there's a general election here, Labour aren't going to see power again for decades, and quite rightly so. But you could see his vice president stepping up, and he would get 2 terms. So you would get at least 12 to 13 years of this to maintain it, and to thoroughly bury all that far left crap that we've been having infesting the rest of the world, or the rest of the Western world, so to speak, which, to be honest, isn't necessarily a bad thing. But did you see his son just have that little word with Biden, and Biden's face changed?
Yes.
Apparently, all he just said was, "It's on."
Yes, and then, allegedly.
Melania told him to be nice, but then he gave that look back, and you thought, "Yeah, you're marked," because he tried to have his dad killed.
Allegedly. Everything's alleged. Stony ground. A lot of you in the chat getting onto this particular subject as well. You are all aware of this. Wasn't it ridiculous? Terrified Monk is saying to us here that Rtd should be sacked for that comment. Well, allegedly, you can't really be sacked from a job you don't have anymore. I don't know. I mean, I'm just putting it out there. I mean, he's still in a particular position, but there is no sign of a series 3 for Doctor Who at the moment. We're going to be looking a little bit more at other allegations or other topics that could suggest it's no longer in production. He's currently working on the final edit, of course, of Doctor Who series 2, alleged Doctor Who series 2, and this Sea Devil thing we've just been talking about. But it doesn't mean to say there's another one coming, and there's certainly no Doctor Who Christmas special being filmed at this time for this year.
I was wondering whether the Disney deal may have always been a 2-year deal, and that's the way it was meant to be.
I don't think it was even a 2-year. I think it was an episode.
Yeah.
Here's the money. Do you know? That sign looks like a Soft Cell album cover, because Graham, it absolutely does. Yeah. And we've got here, Trump can't do a third term, says Rtd'S time. Yeah, I think one of the American commentators on one of the shows here said that he can't do a third because, but the Republicans certainly can if they're voted in again, can't they, with whomever takes over. We've got that from Robert Payne. Trump respects the Constitution too much to try to do a third term. He will set a better example than that. Okay. Lots of people here
on that one.
Marjorie is saying RTD has finally lost it. Oh, he lost it a long time ago, darling.
I'm not sure he ever had it.
Yeah.
Bedouir is telling him to be kind. And Lex is saying he needs to step away from Instagram. Now, this is the man that last year we reported didn't use social media because he didn't like it. Remember, we talked about that on Headlines last year. He was in an interview and he said, I don't use social media. I don't like it. I think it's poisonous. I think it's vile. I think it's toxic. All these sort of words. Hello. Here he is on Instagram. You know.
Do you remember there was, I think when the series first came back, there was some criticism of various writers on the series, and there was lots of things on various forums or whatever. And I think one of the writers was told not to read anything because you may see stuff you don't like. And that was their kind of mantra about not looking at forums and media, that kind of stuff. So you can't get any real criticism. And he is now doing the reverse of what he told his writers, because you don't want to read bad press, do you? And he's responded to all this the way he shouldn't be doing in the first place.
The situation for all this for me is RTD, of course, is one of these people that has led the charge for all this nonsense that they've been peddling, which originated with Stonewall's dictates a few years ago. And look how quiet they are now. Look how quiet they are, because they're done. They are finished. They've got no respect left at all in the United Kingdom. But they all jumped onto this thing about, and I think it's personally because a lot of them missed the 80s and the 90s and the beginning of this century LGBT same-sex issues, the bandwagons that we had there, and fighting for our rights, you know, and we were powerful and we achieved what we wanted to do. And then they saw this other thing coming up. And I think that's why they've gone on about this whole TQ thing. The Q, by the way, is a homophobic slur and is a mental state of mind. So you've got all that coming up, in my opinion. But, you know, he's one of these people that's so intent on this and so focused on this. They're not going to back down now at all. And it just strikes me that they are mixing it so much with this whole thing about, you know, accusing people of getting at T people, you can't get at Q people because they don't exist. You know, you can't get at non-binary people because it doesn't exist. Or even now, even getting at drag queens. Nobody's getting at them. You've created the situation because you've told us we have to accept that there's more than two genders. Don't be ridiculous. There isn't. And why has it suddenly changed over the last 5, 6, 7 years? Why suddenly are them? And can you tell me what they are, please? I'm still waiting for somebody to tell me that.
Have you got enough time to list them all?
Yeah.
Somebody posted something online the other day. It made me chuckle. It was might have even been Amazon that they got it from. It was a TQI cult supporting T-shirt. You know, and it said available male or female. I was like, hang on a minute. It said hundreds of genders and it's only available male or female.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We've got here from Mark. Hello, Mark. Nice to see you. RTD, what a horrible thing to do. Can you imagine JNT, Philip, Hinchcliffe or Barry Letts doing that? No.
They had class.
Yes, they did. And they were grown-ups. They were grown-ups who just went in on the Monday morning, did the job, and then went home at the end of the week. That was it.
He is an employee of Bad Wolf, and you could say that he is bringing Bad Wolf into disrepute. And if they don't take action against him, which they won't, then they're basically condoning his actions.
I mean, apart from Barry Letts being into Buddhism, I have no idea what these guys' politics were, you know?
You can guess.
You can guess,
they never told us. They never told us. Yeah.
He brought Buddhism into Planet of the Spiders, didn't he? Yeah. But it worked really, really well. And you didn't feel that you were being lectured to. It was just, this is a Buddhist retreat. The end.
Yeah. Lots of comments coming from you in the chat. Nice to see you all. I think the deal was for 26 episodes, says Timkins. Not 2 years, but with War and 2 series, it comes to 26. Carmen is saying RTD is only doing 2 terms. I like that.
There's no restriction on how many you can do, though. That's the problem.
Yeah. What else we got here as well? Domgo is saying RTDs, you've lost it, and swearing about it won't help. Tim Kin's agreeing with myself that the Q word is a slur. It absolutely is, and that, it's now appropriated by a lot of the time by heterosexuals who seem to want to have some sort of validation or feel special somewhere along the way, and it's just absolutely nonsense. It's got nothing to do with same-sex issues at all. That's a completely other show. I could go on about that for hours, really, and we could have a really good chat about that. Lex Kane is saying USA has woken up with the new government. It's time for the UK to catch up with what they're doing. I say yes, absolutely. Stephen Braddock, RTD, has painted himself into a rainbow corner. He's a trap screaming hypocrite in total denial. Harsh but true, I would say, allegedly. RTD is right, says Raymond, but 85 million Americans are wrong.
And if you look at if you look at the demographic who voted for Mr. Trump, it's amazing when you think about who did,
Yeah, well, a lot of LGB.
Yeah.
A lot of LGB people. He's even got some gay men and women on his staff, cabinet.
And they were singing YMCA at one of these marches.
Didn't they?
When that came up on the news, I had to laugh. I thought, oh my God, please.
Yeah, it was quite comical, wasn't it? Yeah.
What is this about? SG is saying JNT moved to the female doctor at one point, but later admitted it was a publicity stunt. It's a big story about that, SG. It actually wasn't JNT, it was Tom. On the day it was leaked to the press, he was leaving Doctor Who back in 1980.
Who he or she may be.
He threw it out there, and we were cursed from that day onwards because the press thought it was a story. Absolutely.
He's such a naughty man. Yeah.
Hugh Janus is giving us a super chat here. Thank you, Hugh. Nice to see you. F off. Isn't that what Disney said to his crappy TV show? Allegedly.
Certainly what the viewing public said.
Yeah.
And also not just in the UK, but worldwide, because if rumours were meant to be believed, of course, it didn't have any impact on Disney at all. We've got here Plymouth Who. Good to see you. I call this the magic wand generation effect. Wish it, want it, get it. Yell at everyone who tells you no. Reality is just a triggering word for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite right. Quite right. Absolutely quite right. And we see that, don't they, with all the Toki-Tiki stuff. Please. We're even seeing it now in Doctor Who with the lead character breaking down and crying every 20 seconds. Absolutely ridiculous.
Well, it's interesting what he posts as well. Just going back to Barrowman and his situation, and then you see Gatwa posting stuff online where he's holding his Todger through his clothes, and it's just like
definitely double standards there. Yeah,
absolutely. But he's of the left and he's in the in crowd, so he can do whatever he likes.
It's the usual stuff, to be quite honest. And I think I said to you guys last week, I was expecting RTD and the TQ cult to be saying stuff on social media about what was going to be happening on the Monday just gone with the president's inauguration and stuff like that. Like it or loathe it, he is there and he is doing what he said to do. I would just love to have something like that in the United Kingdom, crowds, because we are in a real mess in this country right now, in our beautiful country. It's absolutely ridiculous. And these people who are on the extreme far left are too busy with their heads in the clouds or in the sand, worrying about people's personal pronouns and ensuring that there's more than 2 genders, which there isn't, to worry about the real facts. And then when they do look at the real facts of what's going on, their virtuosity comes out and they start to protect people. Absolute nonsense going on. Talking of nonsense, Georgia Tennant climbed on the bandwagon this week with Instagram. She said, and thanks again to Kirsty for this, she said, okay, sure, whatever you say in response to President Trump, but let's be very clear, queer and trans people were here before Donald Trump and will continue to be here after he's dead. Whether or not you want us to exist is secondary to the simple fact that we do. The sun does not care if you sign an executive order telling us to stop rising each morning. It just continues to rise. Meanwhile, still no viable plan to lower the cost of groceries. Meanwhile, climate provisions are being repealed to increase profits for oil executives, while both red and blue states are ravaged by climate change. Meanwhile, your healthcare still sucks. Meanwhile, each and every person standing next to Trump at his inauguration is a billionaire. But let's stay focused on the non-binary 8th grader who wants to play field hockey. Are you distracted yet? Now, I just have to clarify, this wasn't actually Georgia that put in. This was one of those alleged TQ entertainers, but she forwarded this, or she agreed with it, or something like that, didn't she, Kirst? So this wasn't written by Georgia tenant official, just to make that very, very clear. This was written by another alleged personality. He's a very strange, very confused boy. As you can tell by that, he gets on my nerves, quite frankly. I had 2 spats with him, and that was enough for me to block him, because I just thought, no, you are gone, you are lost. He doesn't call himself LGB, he's LGBTQ plus, and he does believe, as you can see there, in all this extreme left-wing fantasy. And he's quite frankly an insult to LGBT people. So it's no wonder that none of us want anything to do with him, because he lives in that world. But that's the world that show business is in, and that's the world that people like RTD and Tennant and everybody else find themselves agreeing with, because they want to be seen as being accepting.
Allies. They like to be allies, don't they? Problem is, they're
Just
allying.
be kind and nice, for goodness sake.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And it's such a shame. And when you, I mean, this, I'm going to call him a young man, although he probably won't call himself that, but he is. You know, and his glitter and his bloody nails and all this nonsense. I mean, that was just. I mean, look at that. Queer and trans people were here before. The facts there. No. The Q word, actually, fella, was and is a homophobic slur. So no, they weren't. They've only been around for a few short years because they appropriated the term. And actually, what do you mean by trans? If you mean transvestites, yes, they've been around for a few decades now. Absolutely, I get that. Possibly even longer in history. I don't know. I wasn't there. But, and neither were you, by the way. But transgender? No. I think the first operation was in the 50s or 60s. And then it was very rare, as it still is to this day, because it's extremely costly.
I recommend.
And not many of these people that call themselves transgender go through the actual operations because of that. Some of them do, and good luck to them. That's what I say. But not all.
The majority don't seem to, do they? Which I've always felt was showing a bit of a lack of commitment, to be quite honest. You know, they want all the bells and whistles, but they don't want some of the bells and the whistle cutting off. And I'm thinking, you're failing at the first hurdle there, really, aren't you?
Yeah, but also the fact is as well that, you know, they've shortened the word down so it encompasses even more. So define, you people on the left, the extreme left wing, define what you mean by trans, because there's transvestite, there's transsexual, and there's transgender. What do you mean? And this is why the kids are also confused, and why I get really, really annoyed about this. So, you know, putting on black nail varnish doesn't make you trans. And yet some of these extreme left-wing liberals will think it is, and they'll have you in an operation. And in Britain, of course, they try and claim it on the NHS. I would like to see that stopped, quite frankly. Stopped. And certainly not for children. I think you have to be over the age of puberty age, to be quite honest. But
I was going to say was, in terms of the word queer, if you watch A Naked Civil Servant with John Hurt and watch The Life of Quentin Crisp and watch that drama, you'll see how that word was used offensively and violently to gay men. It's horrible.
It is. Well, you know, they don't realise just what an effect it can have on us. Some of us lived through those years.
Yeah.
As certain showrunners of certain television shows did and should know better. But oh no, they have to jump on the bandwagon, don't they, and be on the alleged right side of history. It just makes me sick. You know, just makes me very sick, and they do as well, to be quite honest. As you'll all know if you're regulars to this show. What else? Davy Shark, yikes! Tune in straight into the anti-trans stuff. Well, it shows how much you know. And has blocked the channel. Good. I don't want you here anyway. Bugger off. I haven't got time for you.
I sent a message and said bye.
Yeah, thank you for that. Hugh Janus is saying, I'm old enough to remember that queer meant strange or odd, nothing else.
Exactly.
This is the British term for it, Hugh Janus, isn't it? Now, this has all come about, of course, because Rtd's 1999 hit Queer as Folk got transferred to America. And that's where it starts, because these people have seen 5 years of what was actually a very good drama. The British one paled in comparison to the American one. I have to say the American one went off on its own after it got over the remake version. It was so much better. It really was quite good. Dated because it was of its time, i.e. the early 2000s, mid 2000s. But because it was called that, people appropriated it and thought it means this and this and this. They don't realize it's a British saying, which means you are odd.
Yeah, exactly. It's not complimentary at all.
Yeah. Oh, goodness me. It's terrible. But anyway, there we go. Yes, so thank you all for that on that one there anyway. So thank you. Not too bothered about people just popping into the chat actually and saying, oh my God, you're this and that, because this is the truth. This is the truth. There are two genders and that's it. And it's a whole bigger conversation, but you know where we stand here on Whose Views with that particular one. Anyway, we're going to move on to the next bit here as well, because of course this whole thing has been enforced into Doctor Who under DEI. And what do we mean by that? Diversity and equity, inclusion, all this nonsense, which in my humble opinion has destroyed society. Totally. It's missed the point. As I've said before on the show, I remember being in business here in the UK when this thing, it wasn't called DEI then, it was just called common sense. And it was all about, we had to make sure that people with disabilities could, if they wanted to, be employed and get into the buildings they were employed in. Some of which are buildings in Britain still don't have access to for those people anyway. But that's what it was originally about. And then it's got expanded, hasn't it? And of course, as we know, it's hit show business. We've reported already on headlines last year and again over only last week, that DEI is very important to the people who have been producing Doctor Who over the last couple of years, maybe even more. We know full well that the BBC is spending over 880 million, of taxpayers' money or license fee payers' money in DEI. Again, President Trump has scrapped it all in America, saying that you have to now hire the right people for the right job. I would argue that's common sense.
Yeah.
So there's DEI going out the window again, and it's going to have an effect already. I've been arguing, as the guys will back me up here for quite some time, that Doctor Who Series 2 and possibly the Sea Devil thing is out of date. A lot of you in the chat are saying the same thing now as well. And this week, like last week, we've had another leak of who's writing for Doctor Who. Now, I want to make it very clear. No offense to these people. And the judgment will be in the episodes. Absolutely. We will watch the episodes. We'll come back and we'll look at it. We'll give our scores on the TARDIS doors and we will be honest. If these episodes are very good, then we will say they're very good. But if they're bloody awful, we'll be saying they're bloody awful, just like last year's series. I don't know if you've seen this, guys, but this is the story I got from social media, from Doctor Who filming locations on Twitter. Season 2, episode 5 has been written by Nigerian poet and playwright Inua Elams, I think that is. Apologies if I said that wrong. This is also the episode directed by Makala McPherson, and the cast are predominantly people of colour. With Sharma Woolfall writing episode 3, as we reported last week, RTD has delivered the more diverse writing talent he promised. Now, that is true. As we said last year, as we said last week, last year, RTD got criticised for Doctor Who, Disney Who Series 1 not being diverse enough. He was criticised by a minority, I'd say 3-4 people maybe. But that's not how they work. That's not how the industry works. And he came out, didn't he, guys? Remember we talked about it? He was like, oh, no, the next series is going to be more diverse. It's going to be more this and that. Now, this is why I think DEI fails, guys, because this is just tick boxing for tick boxing sake.
Can I ask you a question? How diverse does it have to be to make your quota? I mean, does it have to be all completely diverse? So we're out.
Well, exactly. Well, yeah. And according to this, the cast of this next episode are predominantly people of colour. So is that all their quota by doing that? But it does seem to me, Who viewers, that this is enforced. This is what DEI is all about. This is show business for you. This is the gentleman in question, by the way. This is him here. This is the writer they're talking about. So this is Nuala Elams. So he is the Nigerian poet and writer. So he's writing one of the next episodes. I also find this as well from TV Zone. According to the agency listing, Sharma Wolfler, as we reported last week, has co-written the 3rd episode of season 2. Now, it's the co-written bit on these things that get me now. Who's the co-writer?
You do wonder, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, we know.
It's RTD, isn't it?
It's going to have to be.
Yeah,
and is he co-writing because these young people aren't quite up the standard to write a television show by themselves, allegedly? Are they not there? Or is he co-writing just to get the money?
Chibnall did the same thing, but they should have had 3 writers on his script to help him.
Did he?
You know? Yeah.
He did that as well?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. And what were those episodes like?
I can't remember.
Isn't it strange, Hugh viewers? We can't remember anything from the last 5-6 years, but we can remember something from 55 years ago.
That's true.
Strange, isn't it? Let's get back to that from TV Zone, guys. Wolford was previously worked on TV series such as Renegade, Nell North, and Crosses and Supercell. According to Doctor Who Film Locations, Nigerian playwright and poet Inuala Elms has joined the writing team for the up-and-coming series, writing episode 5, which will be directed by Macalla McPherson. And the Twitter page also reported that episodes 1, 2, and 4 of season 2 will be titled The Robot Revolution, Lux, and Lucky Day, respectively. The BBC will announce the official episode titles and transmission details in due course. Now, I can actually tell you right now and confirm to you that Doctor Who magazine, if any of you are still buying that, will confirm all those details this Thursday when the magazine is out. If you don't buy it, don't worry, because Headlines will be here next Sunday to tell you all about it, and we will be discussing it for you then as well. But I'm going to say it, this. I mean, this is, come on. They're going to scream, the far left are going to scream, oh, you're ist, you're a phobe, or an ot, all the usual stuff, because we're even mentioning this now. But this to me, and I'm going to say it, this looks like pure tick boxing to me.
Well, if it was proportional, there'd only be 20% that were like that, wouldn't it? To cover all the various different minorities and stuff like that. So having the majority is way over representation.
Yeah.
I would have said. Which therefore means it's actually racist against white people.
And also, it's not British. Yeah.
No.
Not British. You know, so can we say anything about that? Probably not, but I'm going to anyway. I mean, did you have to go abroad to look for a poet or somebody to... This is what DEI has got us to now, everybody. And they will all be singing and dancing about this. Mark my words. They're going to be talking about this and that. And oh, look at us. Aren't we diverse and stuff? Are we inclusive? Aren't we tolerant? Aren't we brilliant for doing this? I guarantee you, when the rest of the world is moving on, it's going to be interesting to see how they actually discuss things like this now. And guess who's going to feature in these? He's going to be saying, with Trump doing this and with Trump doing that, because he hasn't yet recorded the interviews. The interviews for this forthcoming series are to come. They haven't been held yet. They're all on the way.
Great. He was hoping Biden would have got in, wasn't he? So that's the thing.
Yeah. They pinned their colours to the mast a long time ago, and I think a lot was dependent on them getting what they felt was, written in stone. They were so certain that Biden or Harris would have won that election, and therefore everything was going to get cemented in place, and it hasn't. It's been torn down in the space of a week. It's wonderful.
Well, they made the mistake before, didn't they? But you can see things on the Tube of Who, can't you? Where you can see some of those American commentators and some of the more left-leaning news agencies, if you want to call them that. You can see their faces dropping on results night. And I always find that quite entertaining, quite frankly, because I will always support the underdog. I always have done. And I just thought, it was pretty obvious to me 3 years ago he was going to get in again, because as far as I'm concerned, it was just a witch hunt. And it was pretty odd, they were going after him. And I thought, no, the American people are seeing through all the nonsense. Paul Stanford's saying to you, it didn't earn it. That's what DEI means. Glad that Trump has gotten rid of this in America. We need to do the same in the UK. Unfortunately, at the moment here, Paul, it's not going to happen, is it, with who we've got in charge? But fingers crossed, at some point, somebody wakes up. And Mudcrap is saying to us, hiring on merit. Gosh, imagine going into work and knowing the person at the next desk actually knows what they're doing. Exactly.
It's a novel idea, isn't it?
Yeah. Sharda Knox is with us saying, for me, it's not that Doctor Who is out of date. The cardinal sin is that it's so poorly written. No, I'm saying that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that the writing and the production of it is out of date, not the show itself, but well, sort of, but not. What I'm saying is the way they've produced it is out of date because they produced it on the back of the first one. And with all this DEI stuff included in there for the sake of, as Russell T Davies has admitting, the sake of it, not because he necessarily wants it, but he wants to be seen in a certain way by a minority that he believes in and is part of. That's what I'm saying is out of date.
They're approaching the creative side the wrong way as well, aren't they? It needs to be about story and character first. And then you can put all that stuff in if you want to, but have the core items correct first before you start.
Yeah. And they haven't got that.
No,
they haven't got that at all. What have we got here from Bill? BBC diversity quota is around 28%. The UK has a non-white community making up around 15% of the population. Thank you for that, Bill. Tim Kins is saying diversity types are always very blunt about it. They say it can never be enough. There's no end point, no end to the ritual. I'm up to here with all this DEI stuff because I honestly genuinely believe it's destroyed British society. Mm-hmm. And when you're getting it force-fed into every blooming TV show, film, radio show, adverts on both television, I am sick and tired.
And unconscious bias and all that kind of stuff.
And most couples that you see as well, they're one black, one white, and it's generally the black guy. So it's a white woman and a black man. It's always that ratio. Or it's two men or it's two women. You will very, very rarely see a heterosexual white couple in these adverts and things like that, and it's gross overrepresentation. Really is gross overrepresentation, and you never see this in. You go across to Nigeria TV, for example, and you'll be lucky if you see a white face. There's no diversity or inclusion there. Where this writer's coming from, there's no diversity at all on Nigerian TV. It's all black people.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, and we should point that out more often to them, shouldn't we? Because
their businesses are exactly the same. Their businesses are exactly the same. You look at their business profiles and everything, and they're all 100% black people, generally, males as well. And
as it should be, really, because that's the percentage of the country.
Yeah, absolutely. It reflects the ethnic makeup of that country. But you look at a BBC program, and you would think it was at least 50%. You would always think it's at least 50%.
What annoys me more about it is that we've got into a situation now where they are going to they're doing it deliberately, and you just know that's all they're going to be talking about in all the listings magazines and all the interviews and on the one show and all the nonsense they're going to be doing. Oh, look at us, aren't we good? Oh, look at us, aren't we brilliant? And then a few months later, they're going to come back saying the show was axed.
Look at Tovy's interview, though, about war between, that rubbish that had too many words in it. It's his first chunk of interview is all about how you've got to go in and make yourself vulnerable, and be nice and kind and be so effeminate and everything else. No offense to women, but Jesus Christ, honestly.
We've got a super chat from Lex here. Thank you, Lex. 100% true. You're totally right. DEI needs to end. Well, it is in America, so hopefully we'll follow up here. It continues. Trump did the right thing. He also declassified the JFK, the MLK, and other Kennedy. Great news from the USA. Thank you for that, Lex. We've also got here from Lee Smith. Hopefully they can write better sci-fi than RTD. I'm hoping so, but he has co-written these episodes. Now, as I say, we will be very honest because we can't judge until we've seen the episodes. All we're talking about here is the knee bending to the DEI, which has been enforced. And that's never a good look. I have been in businesses where people have been hired simply because they tick a box. They're bloody useless. They have been useless. And then you are stuck with them. And then if you try to get rid of them within the 3 or 6 month period, you're called dist, and people are terrified to do that. And like Paul has said for many, many months now on this show, and as the president of the United States has come out, decent common sense, you should be hiring on merit. Who can do the job? It's just ridiculous where we're up to now in the world. But this is what Doctor Who hasn't done. He has done this deliberately. He came out and said this. Joe is with us. Joe Chapman saying this is completely racist of them. And Tim Kins is saying, how can a Nigerian poet write for a Rwandan leading man? This is cultural appropriation. I'm not getting into any of that because I don't understand it at all. What else we got here? Graham is saying words fail me. It's ist, plain and simple.
You could say actually it's cultural appropriation, having Nigerians and Rwandans doing something that is quintessentially British.
Yeah, yeah.
But he's not Rwandan. He's a he's a Gallifreyan.
Yeah. We've got here Mudcrap saying, I've just been looking at the Wikipedia page. It is thin. What has he actually done as a writer? This is my point. And when you look at who's writing all the BBC Studio Penguin books now, there's an awful lot of people being given opportunities just to tick the box. That's what I'm trying to say here. And that is, you can look around and you can see that's a fact. Now, I know all these extreme left-wingers are going to be screaming at this show and screaming at me, like we had that other person just a few minutes ago coming on saying, oh, you're Istava. That's so typical. That's so typical. But it's true. It's happening. And they'll start name-calling Istpho as they have been doing now for 6 or 7 years, because they've got no argument. They're doing it, and we can see it's being done on purpose, and it's affecting society. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, let's have a discussion, not just slagging each other. It's stupid. Yeah.
Well, it also needs to stop as well, because there'll be people who can write who haven't had the chance to write for Doctor Who because they won't tick the box. You know, it's just Mark Littlewood. Nice to see you. At least in 1989, the show went out with a bang. This time, it's going to go out with a woke whimper, isn't it? Just absolutely. Mike Disney is saying, but this is going to be hilarious. It possibly will be if it's all rubbish.
Yeah,
you know,
we'll have fun anyway, won't we?
We will. Yeah,
absolutely. Yes, Mark is saying to us, let's not prejudge. I hope we've made it very clear, Mark A. Right, we're not prejudging. If the episode is good, we will say it's good. If they're not, we will say it's not. I'm sure this will appeal to that massive audience demographic of Nigerian poets, though. Yeah, I'm sure they'll all tune in Nigeria. Is the show being shown in Nigeria now?
Probably not.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. Does anybody know?
We've got a few missing episodes, maybe.
That's good.
Yeah. Julianne is saying to us, what a load of poo. No experience writing for TV and outside the show's cultural base. We need a return to what's that? Meritocracy. Of course it is. Meritocracy. In this country, we do. And I'm hoping, as I said before, Julianne, sometimes, unfortunately, like with the TQ cult, everything that starts in America makes its way over to Britain. Let's just hope the common sense does as well. Yeah. You know, because one of the things we had in common with Australia, with America, and other places, with our decency and our common sense. And that's all gone out the window over the last few years. There's been an explosion of complete and utter lunacy, hasn't there, in my opinion. And then Joe also adds, by the way, did you know Shooty is gay and black? Does anyone know that? Anyone?
Is he?
That's a shocker, isn't it?
No way. No way.
I have to say, Joe, I'm not sure he's
He kept
gay.
that to himself, didn't he?
Yeah, I have to say, Joe, I'm not sure he's gay. I think he's totally different in my book. And Killbot was with us. Hello, nice to see you. I don't care who writes who, as long as they write who, not the drivel we were served over the last couple of years. What's the chances? What's the chances that we're going to get some decent Doctor Who in this next version?
No chance.
I know. It doesn't look good, does it? Neville is saying to us, this is sad. You almost know the way the episode is going to go. Tick box, tick box, tick box. It'll be about something, won't it, to get at what they call right-wingers.
But let's be right. I mean, ultimately, it's just going to be a continuation of what we've seen. And that wasn't popular. And it's just going to make, you know, like you've said, if it's good, we'll say so. But it's just going to be great for us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ian, can I say something? You look like Blofeld sitting there with your cat, you know, like a Bond villain.
So, Mr. Davis, you think you're going to be successful? Yeah, Albert was scratching at my legs. I had to pick him up.
Clive's with us. Hello, Clive Simpson. From what I can gather, these people think that minorities are underrepresented. Is that a genuine reason to go completely the other way? Well, according to them, it is. But now they're actually taking the P because they also think, for some bizarre reason, I still can't get my head around, that drag queens are a minority and are underrepresented. For heaven's sake.
Not on the BBC, they're not now.
No, every bloody show. If you don't, honestly, even I know this, and I don't watch the BBC because I refuse to. But there seems to be a drag queen I hear about on every single bloody show.
Well, I accidentally stumbled on, is it Smoggy Queens? It's called. It's a sitcom about drag.
No idea. I've heard about a sitcom. Yeah.
And Mark Benton, who's in Rose, is in it.
And Mark Benton, I like him.
Yeah, and he plays a drag queen, but he's not a drag queen and doesn't do drag queenery in real life, does he? Is that allowed? I'm not quite sure.
Good point.
Yeah,
so again, it suits them when it wants to suit them. I can't imagine anything. Once upon a time, in the late 90s, turn of the century, that could have been funny. But now I'm sure it's littered with messaging and all this nonsense.
Yeah.
Don't say to Clive Simpson he's got to watch his profile picture because he'll get cancelled.
Not from me, he won't. We've also got
the buffs here, GT, steady the buffs.
We've got Joe Chapman with us again, saying LGB are regrouping as a three-pronged unit against a lot of this, and white people feel able to speak up about isms against them now. Things will change. You're absolutely right, Joe. There is a hashtag out there I've mentioned before for those of you who are interested. It's called LGB without the TQ. It's something that RTD and his cult will not like me mentioning. Not that they like me mentioning anything, but, it's all there. And it is. A lot more LGB people are waking up to the fact that what these people are preaching when it comes to their TQ nonsense is actually homophobic. It's ridiculous that they can't see it. It just drives me mad. But there we go. Thank you for that, Joe. And John Steed is saying, 2026 is the year Doctor Who will be ended. I think it's going to be this year, personally.
Yeah.
I really do. Paul Rose is saying, I'm so jealous of the US. I don't know if I've got another 4 years of this rubbish in the UK in me, to be honest. Well, I think we're all going to have to support each other because, like it or not, they're there. We can't do anything about it. And hello to Graf Fossa. Nice to see you. Welcome to Who's Views. They're going to double down on SJW themes in Doctor Who, I think. Western media went mad because of Trump. Yeah, that's true, didn't it? They really didn't like him for some bizarre. I mean, 1 minute he's presenting television shows and he's media's sweetheart, and the next minute he's saying, I'm going to run for president, and everybody hates him.
Yeah.
Very odd. I don't know why. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not American, so I shouldn't really comment too much on that one. But anyway, but thank you for that.
There was an interview with Jordan Peterson with Piers Morgan, and he said how sad people in Canada, which is where he comes from, and America were at seeing what Britain was doing to itself. He said, that rivalries aside, they hold Britain in quite high regard, and it's really sad for them to see what we're doing to ourselves with government and everything. And
really,
it is really embarrassing. But then it's self-harm what we're doing.
Canada's going to lose. They're going to lose their leader, aren't they? And get a new leader soon as well, aren't they? I think.
Yeah. I think they're going to go very similar to. If you see the interviews with the opposition guy, they asked him about genders. They said, "Do you believe there's two genders?" And he went, "Well, I only know about two. Which ones are you talking about?" And the guy couldn't answer.
Well, of course they can't, because it's a fantasy, isn't it? There aren't any.
The new Canadian guy, or the guy that looks like he will be the next Canadian leader come the elections, seems a really, really smart cookie. Could be quite interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll look into. I haven't looked at any of that, to be honest. But thank God he's gone.
And did you see the? I know I'm referring to various things, but there was. They've had that Davos thing, which.
Oh yes, the Davos thing.
That Starmer prefers to Parliament because he's just a wet puppet, isn't he?
Yeah.
Allegedly. But there was the president of Argentina, who's done a huge amount of tax cuts, and for the first time in decades, Argentina's got a financial surplus, which they used to be a financial basket case for years. But he was speaking out about how people in Britain are censored and getting locked up for social media posts. And I thought, my God, in the early 1980s, we were at war with Argentina. And now the British people are being represented more by the president of Argentina than we are by Starmer. It was unbelievable, just absolutely unbelievable. But it was calling them out for people being locked up for social media posts and being very, very strictly policed. I thought, blimey, our times change.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's going back to that whole thing of cancel culture that we've seen various people in show business and also TV shows and films back in 2020 being because of this minority. This very, I mean, I'm going to say it's a deluded minority in my eyes. They've got no sense of realism, and yet they are dangerous because they're dictating to us how we should act, what we should think, what we should say, how we should address other people. They're dictating to us we need to live in a fantasy world. They're making up a hell of a lot of nonsense. They're rewriting histories, especially LGBT history, shoehorning in people that weren't nowhere near things. Drives me insane. Lex, thank you so much for your super chat. I think cartoon giant Disney Who trailer has copied from other 1930s. I think a cartoon giant in Disney in the Who trailer, in Disney Who trailer has copied from other 1930s cartoons and other TV shows. There's no new ideas. Yes, I know what you mean. That a cartoon character comes out the screen in what looks like a cinema. Yes, I know what you mean. Yeah, that has been done somewhere. I've seen that before.
Well, there's a Woody Allen film called Purple Rose of Cairo, when a character comes off the screen and interacts with a real person, which is quite a funny film.
Wouldn't be that. Were there any 80s horrors that did that? Or Gremlins or something like that, was there? I don't know. Let me know. But I'm sure I've seen something like that before. It's very familiar. Or it might have been in a comic. Thank you, Lex.
Does that I don't know if it was Japanese or Taiwanese film series where there was the creature coming out of the TV. And I know Freddy Krueger came out of a TV once in one of his films.
That might be it. That might be it. It might be something like that then. It might be that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Either way, it's not original. So.
No,
it's not original wherever it is now. Hello to Mark Postgate. Thank you very much for joining us. The decision of RTD to co-write with the DEI qualifying writers suggests he doesn't trust them, which demonstrates how performative the appointment is. It's for show. Very good point. Yes, exactly. And it's something that we will be obviously coming back to because we're going to be reviewing the episodes. I'd like to say hello and welcome to Who's Views to Travis Lee. Not seen you on the show shows before, so nice to see you. Thank you for joining in the chat. And Tim Kins is saying to us, drag queens are not a minority and not a demographic. They're a novelty act. It's a bloke in a frock telling hopefully un-PC jokes to an adult audience. It is not a gender. It's a bloody job. These people need to get a grip. Honest to God.
And they're going to say stand-up comedians are a gender as well, because that's almost the same thing, isn't it, really?
They're a world of their own as well these days, aren't they?
I mean,
a lot of them are now coming out though as well, aren't they? To saying, I can't do my act. And I love that the new ones that are coming along have embraced the woke by criticizing it and making a whole act, getting at them. Good for them. They're going to go far. Good for them. And
well, Ricky Gervais does it very well, I have to say.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Because they can. Because like J.K. Rowling, they can't cancel him. He's too big, and he doesn't care. But he's brilliant, isn't he? Absolutely. Dalek is saying, I believe Ant and Dec are doing drag again because it was popular when they did it before. Yeah. Oh, yawn. Absolute yawn fest.
It's a bit late, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you know, I'm going to say it again. Where were they all in the late 80s and through the 90s when we needed them to stand up on television or on theatre and represent us then? That's when we needed people to come out and actually say, look, same-sex rights are valid and required. And all we got were the likes of Syria McKellen, that I remember. And that idiot I won't talk about now because he's gone far, far left. I don't remember anybody else coming out. I don't remember any pop stars coming out.
There was nothing in it for them. There was nothing in it for them. They had nothing to personally gain, so they wouldn't. They wouldn't spin their colours to that mast.
Yeah,
it's pure self-serving rubbish. Which is why I think RTD's doing this co-writing stuff. Because it's more virtue signaling for him, I would imagine. Look, I'm now working with this person. Look, I'm now working for that person. Aren't I even more wonderful than I told you I was last week?
Yeah,
They all could do rewrites to keep his agenda intact within the episode as well.
Yeah. I do remember. I have to say, I do remember being around in the late 80s and early 90s, especially in the clubs, meeting certain footballers that were around that would never dream of coming out, and we always respected that. And back then we had this thing about whatever went on in a gay club stayed in a gay club. There were certain people that you lot would all know from show business that would come into the gay clubs, and we wouldn't say anything because we had a decency back then. We were all right, well, they're not out. But it always struck me saying, you should be, because that's going to raise the profile of same-sex attracted issues that we desperately need, because we could be fired in the United Kingdom, people, well into the 2000s for being gay. You know, that was there. So that's the fact of it. And none of them had anything to say. None of them had anything to say about this. They weren't coming out on the rallies back then. Now they're all doing it for homophobic, in my eyes, causes. It just rattles me. It's a hypocrite. Adrian Sherlock is with us saying the real question is, do we want to live in an Orwellian world of thought police, self-appointed, or gove government? Or do we want free speech and thought without elites pushing propaganda? That's a very good question. I know what we'd like to do. We all want the free speech, but where we're standing now, from my point of view, I'm wondering for how many decades is our free speech actually being controlled to the point where we're at now, where certain extreme left-wing people think they can dictate to us, and have done to an extent over the last few years, especially when people who disagree with them are automatically cancelled from their jobs, lose their livelihoods, their homes, their families. Look at Graham Linehan, lost his entire family for saying a woman was a woman. Yeah, it's food for thought, isn't it? But thank you for the question, Adrian. It's a good question. I like that. A good political adult question there. I like that. And it's one we're going to have to think about, I think. But yeah, superb. That's what this show's all about, fellas, isn't it? I love that. I absolutely love it. Lots of you in the chat again. So thank you so much, everybody. For all these things, for all your chats. There are lots of you with us as well. Gosh, yeah. But I want to remind you what he said in 2023, January 2023. RTD said, rubbish, and this is the headline: Doctor Who maestro Russell T Davies sets out rubbish modern woke script writers who are obsessed with diversity rather than loving television. This was a whole article here in the UK.
Yeah, what do you think changed it? Was it a whim? Was it Disney? What was it?
It was definitely not Disney, because this was coming from beforehand. Because I know that, because of course before the Disney deal, he was going to the various award ceremonies and kicking off. We must never forget he was kicking off, and he was starting to get at the then government, wasn't he? And he was very angry then. So this was starting way before. I think he was just hanging around Canal Street in Manchester too much with the wrong people, allegedly, personally. I think that's what that was. I really do. We've got a new part of headlines that we started last week here on Who's Views. It's called the To Sum Up elements of our show, which we're coming to very, very soon. This is where, if you've been in the chat and you've just been listening, or you want to say something else, you can give us your end of show speech, if you like, to sum up. Mark it first, to sum up, so I can catch up with you in the chats. We've got one more story to go, so just wait a minute, don't do it just yet, but have a think about what you would like to say to sum up as we plug this week's show very, very quickly, actually, because we are celebrating 55 years of season 7 here on Who's Views. We've had our season 7 overview. We've had our Spearhead from Space review this week that just gone, which was a joy. It was a fantastic show, and it was a mighty love fest. So if you're just new to us on this one and you think, oh, a load of moaning minis, you can go and look at Spearhead from Space, which was a love fest. It really was, and it was a joy to do, wasn't it, fellas?
It was really fantastic. Yeah. Well-deserved love for a great story.
It was a very happy show.
No spoilers.
Yeah, no, go and have a look at that if you didn't see it as well. But we are in the middle of that. This Wednesday, live on the channel, we're going to be continuing. Actually, we're going to be concluding our Series 7 at 55 series with a companion piece show where we actually celebrate Caroline John and Liz Shaw. I'm really looking forward to this one as well. I'm sure it's just going to be an absolute another love fest for this particular lady, who in my eyes is one of the companions that gets forgotten an awful lot. But yes, the star of season 7 was Caroline John with Liz Shaw, and we're going to be looking and talking about her this Wednesday here on Who's Views, live at 8 UK time, so come and join us. Something else that's happened over the last couple of days, and again, thank you to Kirsty for keeping me right on this one on Instagram, from Bad Wolf themselves, everybody, was this. Yes, from Bad Wolf TV. And if that's their actual bloody logo they've got out there now, it says it all, doesn't it? Because that is the progressive flag, everybody, from the TQ cult, which LGB people are rejecting in their millions across the globe. But there it is. Look at that. That says it all, really. That's somewhere, ladies and gentlemen, I probably avoid like the plague seeing something like that there, because I know it would be representing the homophobic views of that particular cult. But this is what it says here. Look at this. It's liked by an awful lot of people. And it says, we've loved having Doctor Who and Dope Girls, I think that says, film with us during 2024 and are excited to welcome new productions to Cardiff in 2025. We have 140,000 square foot of stage space supported by offices, workshops, edit suites, backlot, and secure unit parking areas.
Does that sound like it's in the past tense? Does it really?
You tell me, Paul. We love having Doctor Who.
Yeah. Have they gone?
Has it gone?
Well, they were on the BBC Today programme, weren't they? They were doing a feature on. They were presenting from Cardiff, and they were talking about Cardiff television, and they were going to go to visit one of the producers of television in Cardiff, and you just knew where they were going to go. And of course they went to Bad Wolf, and of course they were talking about Doctor Who, and of course they were supposedly on a Doctor Who set. But unless they were on the TARDIS set, which they didn't say it was, they said it was like a laboratory. It's got to be Land and the Sea that they were in. But they made that Doctor Who connection. But it was it does make you wonder. That sounds to me like a touting for business. You know, we're here, come and film with us. Yeah. And then they're on the BBC as well. You know, does that count as advertising almost? Makes you wonder.
A lot of our chums in the chat are getting onto this as well. Yes, they're all pointing out certain things. Ooh, ha ha ha! Yeah, so I give up. Glad I don't work for Bad Wolf, says Paul Rose. Lots of this stuff here coming from that particular thing. I mean, they seem to forget that we're going to see this, and we're going to talk about it. You know, are they absolutely insane? They think that, you know, Doctor Who fans, from the moment that Bad Wolf was announced as the co-producer of this new version, everybody went to their social medias, you know, and they were flagging. I was there already because of Discovery of Witches, but I saw the increase literally overnight, and I thought, there's the Doctor Who fans arrived now. And that was when was that? About 3-4 years ago? I can't remember. Yeah. You know. But Craig agrees with you. He's saying sounds like Bad Wolf is touting for business. It really does, doesn't it? But it's interesting, isn't it? Because there's lots of rumours going around now. Are they renting out, says Julianne? What was the Doctor Who floor space? Now, Julianne, a lot of Doctor Who fans actually did ask that, didn't they, Kirsty? And of course, they've got no answer because they're not going to. Yeah. And they're going to be determined. It's going to be determined that they're not going to give us an answer until after Series 2, because they somehow think that if they tell us what's going on with Series 3 or the end of the deal, it's going to harm Series 2. I'd just like to send them a message. No one cares. No one cares. The great British public aren't going to care. Just tell the fans, put them out their misery, and let's start preparing them for the next wilderness years, shall we? Come on.
If any fans live near Bad Wolf Studios, looking for that skip with bits of the TARDIS set in it, that'll be interesting.
It's not really a set you can use for anything else, is it?
No,
really?
No.
Yeah. We've got here, why, says Paul Richards, is Bad Wolf using the pride flag? Surely they want to entertain everyone equally. I know what you're going to say, but can I just be very pedantic and say it's not the pride flag, it's the progressive flag. Progressive flag. And actually, it's hilarious. One thing they won't tell you about is the history of the person that came up with this alleged progressive flag. That's all I'm saying. Go and Google it. Go and look it up. It's shocking. Absolutely shocking. But LGB people want nothing to do with that flag. Enspiel is saying to us, just take the wolf sign down. And Stephen Braddock saying to us, past tense, it says it all very clearly. New Who hater is saying Bad Wolf always sucked ass. Oops a daisy.
There's another thing. Yeah.
Lee Smith, he's saying to us, Welsh government might get their $4 million grant refunded. Not a chance. Not a chance. And even then, if they did, they'd go, "Ooh, what should we do? Oh, we'll put it on DEI because we don't know what else to do with it. Never mind the bloody potholes." Small. What's it? Is this small swole goat? Have I said that right? Small swole. Nice to see you. Welcome to Who's Views. Even Abfab wasn't that gay. Oh, you lot cheer me up on a Sunday night. You really do. Absolutely fantastic. That's brilliant. I love that. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, so that was that. I thought that was an interesting and finally for you, actually, for this particular edition of Headlines. Right, as I say, you can put your sum ups up now. I've got a few already, so hopefully I can keep up with you here. But what would you like to say now in the last part of our show to sum up your views on what we talked about tonight? Yep, this is, as I say, a new feature that we've introduced to Headlines so that you can have the last say, basically. We've got Shada Knox saying to us here, to sum up, I have watched and rewatched Spearhead 4 times so far this week.
Lovely, lovely.
And why not? To sum up, says Garbage, Doctor Who died in 2017. Yeah. Lee is saying to us, to sum up, RTD2 wouldn't know creative talent if it kicked him up his arse. Ooh, fighting talk there from Lee.
You wouldn't feel it because Russell Tovey's head's probably still stuck up there, isn't it?
Allegedly. Stony ground, stony ground. Right, we've got here as well from, again, from Small Swole Goat. To sum up, we need Doctor Who off time for some time and hire new people with actual talent for writing something fun and not barely disguised propaganda. Hell, even propaganda could be artful and not blunt. Too true. We've seen some wonderful pieces of drama in our time, which was blatantly a propaganda of some sort, but wasn't preaching at people. So even if you disagree with it, you could just say, well, that was quite good. Do you know what I mean? Some wonderful pieces of drama we've had. Remember some of the Playford's Days or whatever they were? Wonderful pieces. Some of them I remember being, I don't like this. I don't agree with this, but you would shrug it off because it was a drama.
Or Boys from the Black stuff, something like that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, gets a job.
Yeah,
famous,
exactly,
famous. But yeah, all that sort of stuff. You're right there, Small Swell Go. Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame, as we've said before on the show, that a lot of us Doctor Who fans are now saying, get it off the air. Lex Kane, to sum up, my first time I saw this show was Santa Claus the Movie in the AB Cinema by Lime Street, Liverpool in 1985. Yes, if you don't know, at the very beginning of that scene, Caroline John is in those hut scenes with all the children. It's lovely. She's in there. It's a nice little... I remember seeing that as well. Lex, the first time I went to see it, I went, oh, look, there's Caroline John. Lovely surprise.
You didn't say, there's Liz Shaw. You didn't do that.
I didn't know. I knew it was Caroline John. Sorry. Bill Lowry, to sum up, I mentioned the availability of Balfour Studios indicating the TARDIS set has been taken down. Yeah, I mean, that one, I'm trying to find if that is true. I am aware of the rumor that's going around with that. No one can prove it. So it is a rumor. It's possible. I'm not going to say it's not possible, but it is a rumor. But unfortunately, even the context I have nowadays know nothing about what's going in because it's all in Bad Wolf and not BBC Studios. And they're not in Bad Wolf. So I can't find out.
I suppose potentially, if whether they have a third season or not, whatever's happening, they need the space to have other productions in. So they may have to dismantle it at some point and then rebuild it again, potentially, if they did have a third series. Maybe.
Who knows? Who knows? I mean, it cost them a fortune, so they must have surely. Yeah. I mean, but then again, the whole thing about it is their arrogance would have been that had to be a standing set.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, remember everybody in the chat when all this news came out? RTD did say to various interviews he can see Shooty playing the Doctor for 5 years.
Yeah.
Does that include 23? We're on year 3 now, isn't that usual enough?
Yeah.
And Lex Kane is saying to sum up, bring back the wilderness years.
Oh, they're coming
on the way.
Oh, they're definitely coming. Yeah.
Yeah. Paul is saying to me, Paul Richards saying, JT, I agree, it's a vandalized flag. I hate that flag with a passion. I really do. Carmen is saying, to sum up, I just want good science fiction in my Doctor Who with some compelling stories and characters. It's not a lot to ask from pro TV writers. That's a very good point. St. Rosie Meads is saying to us, the wilderness years, bring it on. We've got one here from Legion of James. Hello, mate. How are you? To sum up, I will be embracing diversity and inclusion come season 2, as I will be out touching grass, trees, bushes, and weeds, ensuring the equality of representation in all of my shrubbery fondling.
Enjoy.
Yeah, have a lovely time. That's going to be a great summer for you, isn't it?
If only the series itself could be diverse in so much as it has a good episode. But, you know, I guess it's not that diverse, is it?
That's controversial, Ian.
Whoa.
But good stuff, though, eh?
Good episode.
What we do.
Marjorie is saying to us, classic Who, brilliant. God bless Pertwee, RTD and crew, blah, 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 off. Love JT, Ian, Paul, and the chat. Yeah, we love all the chat as well. It's lovely coming on every Sunday, knowing that you're all going to be here talking to us. I love it. Golden Age Geek, to sum up, RIP Doctor Who 63 to 2017. I'm so sad that I'm agreeing with this. It had so much potential, didn't it, everybody? To restart and bring us all back together. And just ridiculous. Robin is with us. Hello, Robin, saying, I love the way Trump combines executive orders with press conferences. Really. Yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it? Going through the thought process in an insightful yet folksy way. I've written 3 executive orders to assist my own life since. Well, good for you. And they're good ones. They're good ones. We've got Graham saying here, to sum up, thank God for the common sense here every Sunday night. Thank you so much. And for you lot as well. And Clive Sampson is saying to us, Capaldi for a return. You've noticed I'm bringing Clive's picture up a bit more now.
You can't make it wider, can you? You can't.
I wish I were, madam. But I'm being diverse here. Paul Stenton.
You can't zoom in.
There are great things happening in America, but there are great things happening in the UK too. Season 7 is out soon. Yes, it is. That's true. It's one of the highlights we've got as Doctor Who fans to look forward to. Your Season 7 box set, the collection is, of course, on the way in a matter of weeks' time, isn't it? It's on the way. Smash just saying, to sum up, Doctor Who is moribund, and to do a spin-off of a dying show is completely idiotic.
Yeah.
And Stephen Braddock's is saying, to sum up, this time I'm actually looking forward to the wilderness years. Long live classic Doctor Who and Who's views. Oh, thank you, mate. Thank you so much. Tony Graydon is saying to us, what big aisles you have.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. Garbage. To sum up, Who's Views panel and its chatter, a marriage made in heaven. Together we are amazing. We are. We absolutely are. And when they come in and start to preach to us, they don't stand a chance to. To sum up, says Woodhouse 122, Trump 1, RTD 0. To sum up, says Talons of Wayne Chiang, RTD ruined the Doctor. Tim Kintz, to sum up, please use our studios, but also F off, but please use, etc., etc. Do you know what? That's the point about business now, isn't it? Because if these businesses do change, Tim Kintz, are they going to say, we'll only accept you if you follow our beliefs and our dictates and our side of extreme left wing? No, they won't, because they'll need the money coming in. So if somebody came in and said, I don't agree with any of your policy and I'm not doing all this DEI stuff and I've got this cracking series and we're going to pay you this much, they might just say, oh, do come in and film here. That would be lovely, because otherwise they're going to go down, aren't they? Surely. They're
going to have to. It's a bit like when venues decide whether a comedian can play their venue because they don't like the material. It's like that, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Lots of
you see what's happening in America, and it's all the DEI and the woke rubbish is well on its way to a very, very deserved death. That if you get an American company that wants to film over here, they're going to look at Bad Wolf with that ridiculous logo and they're going to say, no, we've ditched all that and look for somebody else to work with.
Yeah.
You're right, Ian, because that has already started this week. We've seen various big businesses in the States ripping up their DEI policies. And I was surprised it was so quick. It was as though they were only doing it because they had to.
Yeah.
It was as though they were only doing it but didn't believe in it because it was very quickly.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back to reality, businesses. And if you're in Britain, I hope you're going to follow suit. And I can't be done with all this stuff that's going to happen in June where you all change to the alleged progressive flag. Don't bother. Don't bother with the virtue signaling. Just do the jobs. Make your money, create jobs, please. That's all we want from you as LGBT people. I don't care what the TQ cults say. We don't need your representation. We don't need your virtue signaling. And we certainly don't need your prides. Please do the job, keep your businesses afloat and keep people in jobs. We've got rents and mortgages to pay people. Do you know what I mean? Enspiel, to sum up, Doctor Who is dead. Long live Doctor Who. And Joe, sum up, break then a ginger English doctor or Domhnall Hall Gleeson, completely flappy, mad and dangerous. To sum up, says Dalek Eye, total hypocrisy from RTD and his cohorts, and a glimmer of hope from the USA. And TARDIS Travels, to sum up, no season 3. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Legion of James, to sum up, hashtag LGB without the TQ. Absolutely. We are on the same page there, my friends, aren't we? Absolutely. And Craig Dunlop, to sum up, spending a couple of hours with you guys on a Sunday is the only enjoyment I get out of Doctor Who in the last 5 years. Craig, thank you so much for that. That is lovely. Mark A. Rice is saying, to sum up, New Who 2005 to 2025. You could actually say there, Mark, as well, 2005 to 2017, and then 2018 to 2025, couldn't you? It depends where you fall up with. New Who hater is saying, to sum up, I agree with most of the show, and RTD is definitely still a useless hack and always has been. Allegedly. Thank you very much. Jason Parker is saying to us, that Bad Wolf logo says ultra homophobia. Look at the damage it has done. Almost every remaining gay bar is now LGBTQ plus. Absolutely. They're not gay. They ditched the wrong kind of gays. They turned their backs on us and stabbed us from a great height. I have had friends, and I myself have been told to leave what used to be known as gay bars because we won't bend the knee to the TQ cult. It's made me sick over the last few years. I can say I've lost friends over it as well. Ron Stapp is saying to us here, I recall when teenagers would flock around Doctor Who merchandise. No more. Oh, those days are gone. What merchandise are you talking about exactly? Ridiculous, isn't it? Paul Rose is saying, to sum up, Who fans are alive, but the show is dead. Jason's back with us saying, if New Who can rewrite old Who, then New Who can be written out. Of course it can.
Yeah.
By far more talented people. We could all do it on Who's Views, couldn't we? All of us. We could do a brand new series. Very easy.
Well, I've said you should junk season 1. That's a start, isn't it? So
yeah, I did notice on the post they put out today, which was from the BBC social media stuff, BBC Studio social media stuff, where they are celebrating the black woman I can never remember as the doctor I can never remember, the false doctor.
The fugitive doctor, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Sorry, I can never remember who it is because I'm not interested. But there. And a lot of the fans are getting brave now, saying, not the doctor, not the doctor, not the doctor. Yeah. And a lot of them now coming on saying, right, if they could burn episodes in the 60s, can't they burn recent episodes today? It's very funny if you go and look at it. What have we got?
I feel the same way about John Hurt, to be honest. I mean, it's like he's not really the doctor, really yet. Yeah. But as much as he's a brilliant actor, I still think he's not really the doctor. But,
he should have been the baddie. Raymond Williams, to sum up, saw pictures of Shooty posing with naked male statues. He had his head low down, wishing they were weeping angels, but no such luck. Yes, I know. He was actually on the set of the play that finishes this week or next week. The Importance of Being Earnest. He was prancing around on the set of that, getting photographs. Did
it not finish on Saturday? Yesterday? Did not finish?
Is it finished now? I knew it was finishing around.
It was.
Yeah. Whose Views, says Enspiel, is going to lead us into the Wilderness Years Volume 2. You've no clue what we've got planned for you, mate. Honestly, stay with us. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe because we're ready. Oh, we are ready. We've got stuff coming for you. To sum up, says Small Swole Goat, amendum if permitted. Of course it is. While there is a license fee, they won't care what they write or for how many people they do it, even with budget cuts and shenanigans with separate studios, sadly. Yeah, I mean, that's a point. The BBC are completely complacent when it comes to the license fee. They are getting the money, but we have to remember they're not getting as much as they used to because a hell of a lot of people in the United Kingdom have now cancelled their licenses, and I'm waiting for the next set of figures because I am sure that after this week they've lost even more. So we will soon see. But the BBC is not healthy. What else we got here? Killbot, kill. To sum up, it's the end of our Who, and we know it. Yeah,
it hasn't been our Who for a long time.
No.
It hasn't, has it really? You know, it really hasn't. What else we got? Lex Kane, you're pushing it here now. To sum up, Trump for Doctor Who. Don't push it, Lex. Don't push it. Don't push it. No. Mudcrab is saying, to sum up, best doggo ever. Oh, bless. What else we got? To sum up, good Doctor Who is on the iPlayer, says Robert Payne.
Yeah. Probably not for long.
I know, yeah. What he said, get your physical media quickly, get it, go and do it. It's still quite cheap in the UK now. I can't speak for outside the UK, but make sure you've got your DVDs and your Blu-rays and your collection box sets and all this when you can get it, because we know the distribution is utter nonsense outside the UK. Stephen Braddock, to sum up, Whose Views in the chat is my comfort food every Sunday night. And what a lovely picture of the master, Delgado's master you've got there.
Really brilliant.
Really
He's very good, Stephen, isn't he?
He's very good. I've seen lots of his work. I love his Silurian from last time. That was lovely.
That was great, wasn't it? Yeah. John Steed said it never recovered following Davros Gate. You're absolutely right. That was the start of it. That's when we all knew something was going wrong. What else we got here? Lee Smith, to sum up, Gatwick is free to film from the 25th of January, but is he? No, because we would have heard about it. Yeah. We would have heard. There's no way they would have kept that secret. They would have come out to people like us saying, we're going back in front of the cameras in February, and it's going to be fabulous, and it's going to be wonderful, and it's going to be marvelous, and it's going to be brilliant, and it's going to be diverse. And it's not happened. It's not going to happen. To sum up, says Mark Milford, the man that brought back Doctor Who is the one who killed it. Well, he certainly contributed, but I reckon the rot set in certainly towards the end of Moffat's era, but it was Chibnall. I'm going to put it with Chibnall as well as RCG. Really. What else we got? Legion of James wants to know what the pup's name is, Ian.
This is Albert. His sister Edith is over there. Albert will occasionally make a showing because he'll get bored and he'll come and start clawing at my legs. So he wants to get picked up and then just say, "Hi world, look at me, aren't I gorgeous?" And then he'll just fall asleep, which he is now pretty much.
I had to shut my two out. That's why I went off camera. Because they came in and I'm not as little as you, so I couldn't have one with like here massive dogs.
It's getting more and more like Blue Peter every week. This show it's absolutely ridiculous.
Have you had a tortoise, GT?
My tortoise got nicked when I was a kid. Anyway,
I'm not talking about that. I saw you hear that.
Rose Kirby saying, to sum up, I don't like the way we're going. Watch this, behave yourself by that Blade Runner 1984 Terminator is here. I know what you mean, Rose. I've said this before myself. You know, I feel society is heading towards a more of a Blade Runner society than the Star Trek, the proper Star Trek society. Do you know what I mean? It's a shame, really, isn't it? Thomas McCarthy is saying they could make it more diverse by employing people who can actually write and act. Quite right, too. Yes, Lee Smith is saying, to sum up, any chicken tips this week? No. Have you guys got any? This is great. Thank you very much, everyone.
Are they giving recipes away in the chat? That was going.
I don't know what they're doing. I don't know. Julie Wendy is saying RTD has killed off his own career as well as Bad Wolf. Nice one. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the fallout will be when that decision is actually made. I still sneakily feel they're going to be running around trying to get another deal.
Yeah.
To save face, if nothing else. Honestly, allegedly. We've also got John Steed here to sum up, bring back Adric, all is forgiven. Again, just calm down. Calm down.
Let's go over the top.
Mark McIntosh is saying, to sum up, my wife just told me John Pertwee appeared and called the midwife. They've reached 1970 on Spearhead from Space, and it was on the TV. Oh, yes, I remember hearing something about that. Yes.
They did that with Hartnell as well. They had an episode that the Aztecs was on it as well. That was brilliant. Yeah.
Well, that is a lovely little thing from the Call the Midwife team, isn't it? To say, look, so that sets the scene. Yes, 1970 January, as we know. Great. Legion of James is saying DEI means didn't earn it, but we're all certainly paying for it in some of the most tragic ways. It must end now. Simon L, to sum up, Trump cancelled DEI. Yes, he did. Absolutely. Let's hope it comes our way very, very soon. Adrian is saying RTD is a social engineering wannabe. Adrian, I love your wayward words. I'll have to get you to write my scripts. Stephen Braddock is saying, to sum up, Trump has appointed Stallone, Voight and Gibson as new Hollywood ambassadors to make films non-DEI again. They're certainly going to be able to advise and help with that, aren't they? It's a tough job for them, though, in that industry over there. But again, when and will that have a knock-on to the industry here? Don't forget that our version of the Oscars, hosted by David Tennant, is coming up in February, his second year doing it as the presenter. We will be talking about that. But look what's been nominated, an absolutely awful, atrocious, by all accounts, woke film dealing with TQ cult issues. Apparently part of it is also done as a musical. Yawn, how worryingly crap. And of course, in the leading actress category, surprise, surprise, there's a TW who shouldn't be in the category in my eyes. Absolutely shocking. Absolutely shocking. Carmen is saying, says Bay Studios in Swansea is far bigger and cheaper than Bad Wolf. Oh, well, there you go. Anybody showing looking at the show. And to sum up, says Mark, whose views welcomes all the name of Doctor Who. It's a shame the new series won't do the same. Thank you for all these nice words as well. Bill Lowry, to sum up, whose views is a must watch. Joe Chapman saying Disney Who is not canon. I fired it out of the canon. Oh, she's so good. I love it. Komodo is with us saying we need a series in which the real Doctor Who saves Doctor Who from the mudslides of Bad Wolf. I've just thought of a story actually based around that. It's quite good as well. I'm agreeing with Adrian again. Bad Wolf and Disney is basically a non-canon piece of fan fiction. You can say the same for the Chibnall era, apparently.
Yeah.
Honestly. What else forgot? What was going? Thank you so much, everybody, for this. Anthony has been saying, I've been listening in between endless takes of a tricky bass line for one of my songs with much swearing in between, but what I heard has been great, and I got the bass done. Well done, the bass done. Well done to you. Well done. Any more to sum up, people? Thank you for that, Derek. Whose views is better entertainment than some of the crap on the BBC? That's ironic. I'll tell you why privately. But yes, thank you for that. To sum up, says Jason, RTD overrated soap writer who got over lucky jumping on the success of the 90s resurge in Doctor Who via merchandise, the reputation, and the old bog vanish. He did nothing but take advantage. He's not a genius. The problem is when people tell you are, you tend to believe them. The same thing, allegedly, in my eyes, from Moffat. You keep getting told they're brilliant and the best. I mean, there was even something that I think it was Kirsty or Garbage Sent, where one of the Michael McIntyre alleged shows on the BBC now, and you've got that Welsh guy that David Tennant does Good Omens with. Can't remember his name.
Michael Sheen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And he says Russell T Davies is one of the best showrunners, producers, and writers of our age.
Did he?
Yeah. And is he there?
Has he got some dirt on them allegedly? I don't know what's going on there. Yeah.
I don't know.
Makes you wonder.
Yeah.
It does, doesn't it? Really, it really, really does. Dalek Eye is saying the Whoniverse has expanded loads, hasn't it? And Adrian is saying what we all said. Gatwood doesn't convince us the Doctor. Totally. If you didn't see our playback shows where we reviewed our review shows, Adrian, where we were reviewing through 8 painful weeks. At the conclusion of it, I think we all agreed we don't see the Doctor in him at all, and certainly that Christmas thing we just had still didn't see the Doctor in him. And it's it's not just down to the performance, which is hysterical, and not in a good way. It's the writing. It's the writing. And RTD said, didn't he, last year, guys? We reported it on the show. If you don't like it, tough, because there's more of the same to come. Well, there we go. There we go. There we have it. But thanks for that, Adrian.
He deserves it to kill his career. I mean, it's going to kill. It's already killed Doctor Who, but he deserves it to kill his career, and it will be funny.
I was going to say about the Whoniverse, it's shrinking and shrinking. I think E-Space is bigger than the Whoniverse, I think.
Oh, E-Space.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll get around to that. We'll be visiting E-Space at some point on this channel. Oh, yes, we will.
But not in space, hopefully, anyway. But
yeah. Any more? I'm fine. And not I'm finally sorry to sum up to anybody. Thank you so much for joining us all this evening. I'm glad you watched that. Oh yes, here's one. Oh, it's Lex again. To sum up, what Who universe? Jason, to sum up, Doctor Who under RTD has as much future as a lolly in an oven. Oh, I like that. That is so funny. That is brilliant. And Ark in Space is saying, to sum up, Legend of the Sea Devils is still shite, and RTD as a writer is not canon. There you go. Oh, look, Silk Vampire is with us. Hello there. Greetings from Germany. Brilliant and inspiring show you did today. R.I.P. New Who. Nice to see you, Silk Vampire. I hope everything's okay for you over there. Nice to see you. Really nice to see you. Because I haven't seen you for a little while, but it's great to see you. Well, listen, that's us for tonight, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Thank you for joining us. It's been a great show, and thank you all for your opinions and your sum up. We're going to be keeping to sum up at the end of each show now, so you can have the final say with us here about the topics we discuss. There's a lot more coming our way, of course, over the next few weeks. So make sure you have subscribed to the channel. Make sure you've liked the video. Make sure you stay with us and keep in touch, because it's brilliant, isn't it? When we all get together on a Sunday and we have a good old chat. Really, really is. To Paul and Third Doctor Ian, as ever, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate that.
Thank you. Enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
And it's been great, hasn't it? And we'd just like to say thank you to everybody that's putting in all the lovely, lovely comments in the show now. We do read them after we go off the air. So thank you for that. But yes, we're all going to be back soon. Don't forget, this Wednesday, live on the channel, 8 o'clock UK time, it's our tribute to Liz Shaw and Caroline John with our companion piece show. Come and join us for that. And yes, next month in February, as we saw at the beginning of the show, it's Cyber Chat with us. We've got some shows where we're going to be celebrating the Cybermen. There you go, amongst other things coming for you in February. Until we see you next time. Oh, look, here he goes. Watch this.
Excellent.
That wasn't bad, that was it, actually, for an improv. Until we see you next time on Who's Views, thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great week. We'll be back soon. Ciao, everybody. Bye.
Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.